This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Many, Mickey, Fishy!
You are listening to the Voices of Wrestling podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
X out and go listen to some boring podcast where they're afraid of their own shadow. Okay? Don't listen to Joe Lanza, because Joe Lanza's not changing.
And Rich Craich.
I like him. Who delivers this guy in a big spot?
Joe, don't yell at me. I like him.
In the big spot, who delivers better than this guy?
Stop yelling at me. I agree.
All right, welcome once again to the Voice of Wrestling Flagship podcast. I'm Rich Craich, alongside, as always, King of Banter, very good family man, Mr. Joe Lanza. Joe, what's up?
Where is my new moniker?
Oh, what was the new one? I forget what it was already.
I have ascended to a godlike figure. According to...
I thought you had another one. You had another one when we did the instant reaction show on the voiceofwrestling.com/Patreon. I forget what it was, but that has been quickly overtaken by godlike. I'm not going to say that. I'm not a religious man, but just in case, I'm going to stay away from that one.
When you've ascended to a godlike figure, you don't worry about any other moniker, really, because that is never going to be topped.
That's true. Did you let the TLB know about that one? I bet you did.
Reddit tour.
I knew it.
Reddit tour. Absolutely. I was like, listen to this. I have ascended to godlike status, according to the listeners. One listener, but you say listeners.
No, of course. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
She'll never know. But, she won't check you on that. She, gotta.
No, she was impressed.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I thought she would have just left the room, but that got her. That was the first one that really.
No, she liked it. She
okay.
didn't. She's like, wow, that's impressed. So I was like, don't ever search my name on Twitter, because they're not all.
It's less than.
There's some diminishing returns there, but to say the least. But yeah, I demand that from this point forward, I be introduced.
I'm not going to do that.
Fully ascended to a godlike figure, Joe Lanza. I only think it's fair. Again, these monikers are always chosen by the listeners. I do not bestow these monikers to myself, okay? And you can't even say that I do. These all come from the listeners. So, I don't know. I think the people demand it, and I think this is how I demand to be referred to. So, you know what? We may as well start now. I'm going to give you the floor.
Okay.
Give you some silence, and go ahead. Give me the proper introduction that a man of my stature deserves. Go ahead.
All right, you want to just restart? You want to restart the whole show? We'll keep all this in, but I'll act like it's not in, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Take a swig of this whole drink here, real quick. We got so much to talk about in pro wrestling world, but let's do this. All right. Okay. All right. Welcome once again to the Voices of Wrestling Flagship podcast. I'm Rich Craich, alongside, as always, a godlike figure, Mr. Joe Lanza. Joe, what's happening?
Now that is an introduction befitting of a man who has ascended to a godlike figure.
Do you want me to say ascended in like a godlike? Because then at some point you've because you're there now, right? He was saying at that time, the listener was saying that you have ascended to it, but now you're there, right? Do you need me to say ascended to a godlike figure or just a godlike figure? You see the difference there?
I'm trying to find the exact quote because, of course, I wasn't prepared for this bit. So let me see if I can find.
There's nothing else going on in wrestling. We have plenty of time.
Nothing going on. Can't find the exact verbiage. But
are we sure this happened? No, I saw it. I do remember that.
I got you to call me a godlike figure. That was the whole point of this. It worked. We completed the exercise. But I'll tell you what. By next week, I will craft that quote into a new moniker, and it will be officially be added to the monikers.
Perfect. So we'll have you intro the show next week if we remember that, and then you can officially add it to your list, your chronological list. So it'll be at the end. But yeah, that'll be really good stuff next week. But this week, Joe, there is a lot to talk about. We should note here that we have done a bunch of shows already on the Patreon side as well. So if you're a subscriber, you've gotten a lot of content from us in the last few days. Right after Wednesday's AEW versus NXT, we did an instant reaction show. You can get that at patreon.com/voicesofwrestling. You then on Thursday did the Thursday TV reviews talking about the ratings. We're still going to talk about the ratings here today. I just wanted to preface that we're not going to review AEW. We're not going to review NXT. We've already done that on the Patreon side, so subscribers have heard us. Thankfully, there's plenty more to get to regardless of that, because this is an insane wrestling week. So if you're looking for straight reviews of AEW, straight reviews of the Wednesday Night Wars, and straight reviews of NXT, that will all be on the Patreon side, patreon.com/voicesofwrestling. And you also, on the Thursday reviews, touched on the ratings on that show, but we're going to go over it a little bit, because you were able to kind of have your piece about it. Now I want to talk about it a little bit too, and we have a little bit more details, a little bit more demo data. So we got some really, really cool stuff about the ratings. So we're going to do that. But before we do any of that, though,
hold on now.
Oh, go ahead.
That was the piece of audio entitled The Thursday TV Reviews, The Bloodbath, which has ascended me to godlike status, Rich. So if people would like to hear that piece of audio, which has now anointed Joe Lanza a wrestling god, they can go to patreon.com/voiceswrestling, right? $5 tier, and listen to that audio. Rich, I have the quote. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, go ahead. Is it an honorable person, though? Who is this that said this?
That's a tremendous supporter and fan. Here's the quote. I cannot advocate enough that people need to join the Voices of Wrestling Patreon right now. Lanza just did 45 minutes of some of the greatest pro wrestling audio I've ever heard. This man has ascended to godlike status. End quote. Now listen, if that doesn't sell you on a Voices of Wrestling subscription, I'm not sure anything can.
$5 to hear the word of a godlike figure. I mean,
a godlike figure in wrestling audio.
You're not hearing from somebody that's getting messages from a godlike figure. This isn't a T-Evangelical or whatever. This is you are hearing directly from the godlike figure. You can't beat that.
Listen, this isn't hokey Dave Meltzer.
No Billy Graham. No, we're past the wrestlers. Don't even talk about wrestling things anymore, Joe. This is bigger than that.
That's right.
We're
no
Billy Graham.
Jabroni Wade Keller. None of these guys. Sean Ross Sapp, I don't think so. All right. Mike Johnson, nope. Okay. This is Joe Lanza with 45 minutes of the greatest wrestling audio of all time, which you can listen to for just $5. And it's still only the first week of the month, which means you're getting full value out of that $5. You will not be charged again until November 1st. So, everybody go listen to that right now. It is entitled The Thursday TV Reviews, The Bloodbath, as I went over in excruciating detail the absolute slaughter that was AEW versus NXT and the fallout from the ratings that came out on Wednesday. And Rich and I, as Rich noted, did the live instant reaction the night of, which is also getting rave reviews. And there is that wasn't just live. We have we slap record on that, and that can be listened to on demand as
Correct.
well behind the paywall. So here comes TLB dancing through the room. What is she doing?
I don't know.
Looks like she's gonna
married to a godlike figure. That's enough for her.
She is married to a godlike figure. That's right. Hey, remember I read you that quote that said I had ascended to godlike status? You were very impressed by that, right? See, I told you she was
okay. I thought she'd be like kind of jokingly, but no, she seems genuinely impressed by that.
Listen, she shares a home with a godlike figure. I mean, this is. I'm sure she told all her friends and bragged at work and everything else that goes along with that. So, in fact, she should probably subscribe, just like everybody else, to hear the word of a godlike figure. But
while we're doing the hard sell, while we're selling like crazy here, other things I want to do on if you're just anticipating more AEW, more NXT, more Wednesday Night Wars content, which we're going to give you here in a second as well. A few notes I wanted to say: we did launch a new podcast here on the Voice Wrestling Podcast Network, hosted by Garrett and Liam. It's the Wednesday Night War Games. So you're going to be able to go on there, Wednesday War Games, Voice Wrestling Podcast Network. You subscribe to the feed just to listen to that show, or what we recommend is the entire podcast network feed, and then you'll get that among all the other shows that we do on this network too. But really rave reviews so far for that first episode of that series. So what they're going to do is basically assign a winner to each week, talk about the ins and outs, go over like kind of, who won this part of the war, who won this part of stuff. So it's an interesting kind of semi-analytical way of looking at it every single week. So that's really cool stuff. And Everything Elite, of course, the our AEW focused podcast on this network. They have an episode coming up by the time most of you guys listen to this as well, recapping the first week of AEW and Dynamite. And then they were also a guest on Street Fight Radio. Big time spot for the Everything Elite guys. Were a guest on Street Fight Radio. And those guys did a review podcast as well. So I'll put links in the description for all this stuff if you want to check it out. But yeah, people are coming to us. You know what I mean? Like, people are coming to our podcast, the Everything Elite, and having them come and be the experts on their show. So that's definitely an awesome honor. And yeah, we got you covered every single way possible here with this this new wrestling landscape, which is just absolutely fucking ridiculous and already overwhelming in the first week. So
everywhere I go, people say to me, Joe, when are you going to go on Street Fight Radio? Everywhere I go. Okay, they stop me in the street. They say, are you Joe Lanza? I say, in fact, I am. They say, when are you going to go on Street Fight Radio? My invite must have got lost in the mail. I don't know what happened here, but I hear it was a tremendous spot with the everything. I almost said Evolves again. Everything with the Everything Elite. I heard it was a tremendous spot, and people should go listen to it. How's that for some cross promotion?
There it is. Good stuff. Yeah. So
when's Murder Brian going to get Joe Lanza on Street Fight Radio? When's it going to happen?
Maybe we got to invite him. Maybe we got to bring him here, and then he'll bring you there. I don't know. I'm down.
Maybe
I'll talk to them. Maybe. I'll talk to all those guys.
I have turned down. This is a fact too. I'm not even doing shtick. I have turned down other podcast invites, and I've told people, listen, not until I'm on Street Fight Radio. When I get on Street Fight Radio, then I'll come on whatever your little hokey podcast is. That's a fact. So I'm waiting here patiently. We'll see what happens.
All right, let's get to it here. We, as of this recording, by the way, we're recording this around 9 on Friday. We just finished watching SmackDown on Fox, the debut episode of SmackDown Live on Fox. Instant reaction about that is we're not going to do every second of the show, but Joe, I know you watched, I think almost all of the show. I watched a little bit here and there. Overall, what'd you think of SmackDown on Fox? And then let's talk about the big story. I think more, not what happened at the beginning of the show, which was, interesting and I think worth talking about a little bit, but what happened at the end of the show, with the debut of Cain Velasquez, Brock Lesnar defeating Kofi Kingston to become the new champion in about 4 seconds. But before we get to that, overall thoughts on SmackDown on Fox. How different, how new, and how, I mean, your week now is so dramatically changed now because SmackDown's no longer on Tuesdays. It's now on Fridays. So I don't know, how did this blow your mind and how much was different about SmackDown on Fox on Friday?
Well, nothing was different. It was a SmackDown episode. Well, I mean, okay, so you had The Rock in the opening segment doing, testicle humor with Baron Corbin. And you had the big angle at the end, which I thought came off very well. And we'll talk about that in more detail in a minute. And you had, some wrestlers from Raw. They're going to do the draft next week and, presumably stick to it at least a little bit longer than usual. I don't trust them to stick to it. Because, what does history tell us? They never stick to those things. But they'll have the draft next week. So you did have Seth Rollins and the goofy fucking, murder clown on this episode too. But, essentially in between The Rock and the Cain Velasquez thing at the end, it was, 1 hour and 45 minutes or whatever of what you would normally see on SmackDown, with a new set. And, I as I'm watching the show, all I'm thinking to myself is if someone dropped in to see The Rock and they stuck with the show, I can't imagine that any non-fan is thinking to themselves, I need to watch this every week. This is, I got to tell you, this is an incredible form of entertainment that I haven't been paying attention. No, it's the same hokey nonsense that you get out of this company. And a lot of it is stuff that non-fans are, going to laugh at and have no respect for and live up to every stereotype that people have about pro wrestling. And they're not really stereotypes. It's the legitimate image of what this company presents as pro wrestling. And I don't, to me, this show will do a good rating, or it should, or they're in really big trouble. But this show will do a really good rating because The Rock was there. And, with all of the, I mean, they couldn't have hyped it hard enough. I mean, you couldn't, if you watched anything on Fox, whether it was the NFL or Major League Playoffs or anything else, any other Fox programming across all of the Fox networks, you were just bombarded. I mean, they did a tremendous job publicizing this. So, I mean, they should come out of the gates with a really good number. But what I'm thinking is, as I'm watching this, is in 2 months, it's going to be the same core group of people watching this show, because it is what it is. They're not going to change anything. They are what they are. And it's bad. It's bad entertainment. It's not good. So, they'll get off to a great start, and we'll see how many weeks they maintain it. 2 months from now, you want to give them a little bit of a bump for being on Fox. Maybe they'll get, a couple 100,000 more viewers. I don't think we're going to be seeing numbers drastically different than what they were doing on USA. I really don't. This show will do great. The draft presumably will hold some viewers and do great. And, from there, I think you'll get your diminishing returns, and we're going to level off right where we were. That's my feel when I was watching this. Because I'm thinking, if I'm a normal person who hasn't seen wrestling in 5 years or hasn't paid attention to wrestling, and I'm watching this Firefly Funhouse stuff, if I'm watching Bray Wyatt, I am calling people into the room to mock it and laugh at it, and I'm never watching this again. And I'm doing whatever it is that I was usually doing on Friday nights.
Right. And that's like, so for the Rock segment, I mean, obviously he starts it off and he's there with Becky, but essentially it's there just making fun of Baron Corbin and kind of dragging him down. Did they, because I only watched bits and pieces of that segment, I didn't see the entire thing, but did they explicitly kind of tell you, hey, The Rock's not going to be back, or, don't get too excited about The Rock being here, or did they just kind of play it off like, oh, The Rock's here? Like, because that's an important thing too, to like, if there is somebody that hasn't watched before and sees The Rock on here, are they dumb enough to think The Rock's coming back next week, or are they just like, oh, that's The Rock, okay, cool, and let's see now what they sell us on the rest of the show? Like, the Rock thing is a way to get people in, but then immediately after that, it's like, okay, now what's the next thing? What's the next hook or whatever? But did they make it obvious that The Rock's, not going to be there all the time?
No, but they didn't, like, I don't think that they gave you this false impression that he would be either.
Right.
He just came in and did his thing.
The shit he's been doing for years. He comes in, makes fun of somebody, hits a rock bottom maybe, exactly, and then leaves, and then that somehow helps somebody.
You've got Baron Corbin there as the goofy foil to make fun of, standing there in his dopey crown and robe, and that was fodder for the. Oh, and Becky was in the ring too. Becky Lynch was there, and they just made fun of Baron Corbin for 8 minutes, and again, if I'm a casual viewer tuning in to see The Rock, they give it to me in the very first segment, right? Which I don't know how I feel about that. I may have just consistently hyped up The Rock and done it later, right? I don't know. But they gave that away in the first segment. And if I was not someone who watches wrestling or hasn't in a long time, I see this goofball in a crown and a cape, and I guess it was mildly amusing, but I think I would have just turned the channel to the baseball or whatever it is, or taken my wife to dinner or whatever it is else that I do normally on a Friday night, and never thought about it again. I mean, it was harmless, silly fun, and didn't build to a thing, and they gave it away in the first 15 minutes. I know you want to get off to a good start. I get it. So there's an argument for starting with The Rock, and there's an argument for hyping up The Rock and doing him in the last segment. Right? I mean, there's arguments for both.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so what they used instead of, they used Brock and Kofi as the, hey, stick with the show to watch Brock and Kofi. But anybody with any sort of semblance of a mind knows that that's the match that's going to be on at the end. So you can watch The Rock at the beginning, and then once you see The Rock, you can basically say, all right, cool, I can tune out until, I don't know, 8:30 or whatever, 8:30 Central Time when we're watching, and then check back in, the last 30 minutes, because I'll presumably that will either be Brock and Kofi is about to start or will start in a few minutes. So they basically gave you the two things and kind of told you when those two things were going to happen if you were a viewer and a casual viewer and didn't kind of know or care about the stuff in between. And that's where I'm with you. If I have The Rock coming out and I'm saying, hey, The Rock's going to be here, I probably don't put it at the beginning. Like, you don't want people to miss The Rock, but you also don't want people to just tune into The Rock and then bounce and then come back whenever they do come back, and leave that middle portion completely open, unless you hook them immediately after that Rock thing. And so there's always that little game of like, okay, when do you do it? I think for me, no doubt, you would announce it before, like we said, you announce that he's going to come, to SmackDown, but then I wouldn't have him be the first segment. I just wouldn't. I would have it be something the bottom of the hour, some 8 o'clock, something around there, so you get people to either hang around or maybe come back at that point, or they just say, hey, I don't want to fucking miss The Rock. They just say, hey, The Rock's coming. And you don't need to stretch it the whole 2 hours, because that's kind of bullshit too. People get upset about that when you're just like, "Hey, we're promised The Rock's coming. He's coming. Don't move." But I like the idea of maybe make people wait an hour. show them but then start with something real hot. Start with a hot match and go, wow, that was awesome. All right, well, The Rock's still coming, or something like that would have been good. Starting out with The Rock, I get why they did it, but there's a downside to that too. And we'll see if we, when we get these quarter hours and we get these ratings patterns, is that people might jump in, watch The Rock, leave, and then come back at around 8:30 when they know that the Brock Kofi thing is going to happen. So,
yeah, I mean, there's arguments for both, and I don't really have a strong feeling either way. I personally would have held off The Rock, but you open with him, I get that too. I think that there'll probably be some people who turn it on next week, maybe thinking that he's a full-time part of the company, and they'll figure out that the guy's never coming back. You know what I mean? That's why I say, well, in about 2 months, we're going to level off wherever we're going to level off. And I don't think it's going to be significantly higher than we were on USA. It'll be a little higher because, it's just Fox total households versus USA total households. And Fox pounding the message every NFL Sunday and during all their other programming the way they have. Fox is committed to this. That's one thing. They are all the fuck in on making sure this works because, well, they're paying $1 billion. So, it's or what are they paying? I don't even remember it. Is it $1 billion or 500 million?
I think it was. No, it's
the total deal. Right? Yeah. So it's like, they're fully committed to it, and that's good for wrestling. But at the end of the day, it's the product, and it's just I know we've already ranted on this, but I really can't stop talking about it or focusing on it. I see stuff like Bray Wyatt, and I am 110% convinced that people are laughing and mocking it. I understand some people listening, like, that's fine. I'm not telling you that you're an asshole if you're into the Fiend thing, because I get the appeal, okay? But I am just watching that and picturing, normal non-wrestling fans checking this thing out or sticking with it after The Rock was obviously they probably lost a ton of viewers after The Rock segment was over, but the people who stuck with it, if they got to that segment, they are never watching this dopey show again. I mean, it's that bad. It's really that bad and embarrassing and cringe. It's the kind of thing where you are praying nobody else in your home who is a non-fan is in the room with you when it's on. It's one of those kind of things when you're talking about the Fiend. And it's just, they're showing the reaction shot of Nakamura, and it's so goofy. And then they're showing Seth Rollins, and the lights are flashing. And you're just like, what the fuck is this? I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of a non-fan. And I'm like, why would I watch this?
Right.
There's a billion other television options that aren't this hokey bullshit.
Right. Well, and that's, I do want to bring that up when you say that, is because I hear a lot of people when we kind of say, hey, look, it'd be, they'd probably be better suited to go to, and this is like a trigger word for people, and people get really upset when we say like the more sports like atmosphere, the more sports like or whatever. We're not saying it needs to be exactly like sports. We're saying though that people when they tune into pro wrestling, in my thought, and hell, we're going to talk about it in a bit, it seems to be other people's thoughts too. When people tune into pro wrestling, there's a certain standard and a certain understanding of what they're going to get from that pro wrestling show. If I tune into a pro wrestling show, do I really want this like really poorly done backstage segment thing and all, like whatever the firefly, whatever you want to describe that as? And when I say that, people always go, well, people like, superhero movies. And it's like, yeah, but those are good. You know what I mean? Those are like, there's a reason why people watch those, because when they sit down and watch Marvel whatever the fuck, they know they're getting Marvel whatever the fuck. But you sit down and watch pro wrestling, and the biggest issue sometimes with pro wrestling, and it's the biggest issue I think with WWE, is they try to be all things to all people, and they're nothing to anybody. They try to be a shitty comedy. They try to be, or they aspire to be a comedy, but they're not very good at comedy. They aspire to be drama. They're not really good at drama either. They aspire to be this supernatural sci-fi thing, but not really good at that either. So it's just like a lot of half-ass attempts to be a lot of different things. And it's like, who does that speak to? Your superhero fans, your people that go, oh man, I really like the latest Marvel movie. Oh, here's a wrestler being really terrible and doing a stupid hokey thing. Well, why would I want to watch that? I'll just go watch one of the fucking 19 Marvel movies that are probably out this weekend.
Yeah, why do I want to watch WWE do this badly when I can go watch?
People bring up the comedy. They have comedy. Well, just go watch comedy. Like, there's the Comedy Central's channel. I got Netflix. There's plenty of comedies for me to watch. There's 1,000 comedy shows on TV that do comedy better. So I'm just going to go watch comedy. Nobody does wrestling better. You could do wrestling better than anybody else, Yeah. And that's always the thing that hits me is like, why do you try to be all things to all people? That's not how it works. You're adjacent to the restaurant business. I forget what we're going to say. A lot of restaurants fail because they just try to be everything to everybody. They try to have every food on the option. Do what you do. Do what you do well and do it better than anybody else. And that's your hook. They have, for years and years and years, tried to not do pro wrestling. And it's like, just do pro wrestling. You'd be better than anybody at pro wrestling if you just did pro wrestling. But they can't do it. They just can't. They won't do it.
You get the sense that they really think the Fiend is going to be this breakthrough thing, and it's not.
Right.
It's not. It's there's that tweet going around of the Fox execs, 3 of them laughing at it, which is not which I mean, Rich, that's not the desired reaction.
Oh God, no. You're supposed to be scared, cowering in fear. Oh my God, this guy's going to kill everybody, and instead they're just joking about it, laughing.
And the rest of them have this look on their face, like, what have we gotten into? And it's like, that's how I picture everyone on their couch who's stuck with this show beyond The Rock. Beside the fact that The Rock was in a segment that, played to his strengths because he got to be cocky and make fun of a dork. Okay, that's what The Rock does. He's essentially a bully. I mean, if you really break it down, The Rock
he's an asshole. The Rock's a fucking asshole.
But he's got enough charisma and everything to overcome it. We really don't need to break down why The Rock has appeal. I mean, I think everybody understands it. So you put The Rock in a position where, he could play to his strengths, but it was still a guy in a crown and a cape in the ring, and that was the first impression you're giving people. Again, this is why I wouldn't have opened it up with that segment. Okay, I would have opened it up with something, but they're going to be who they are, which is really bad entertainment, which has been running millions of people off for the last few years, and nothing's going to stop them. And the Fiend is just, I'm shaking my head thinking this is so... I mean, you didn't see the segment, but you've seen the ones from Raw. It was exactly that again. And except Shinsuke Nakamura was making dumb faces in the ring too, like, which and doing them badly, and it's just so corny. And it's not gonna, but this is what they are.
Yeah.
And it's now, as far as the final angle, I thought it came off tremendous. So Brock beats Kofi literally in 5 seconds. Kofi goes in for, I guess, a flying forearm or something.
Yeah, I think it was a flying forearm, yeah.
Whatever it was, and Brock ducks and he lands on his shoulders. He hits the F5 and Kofi doesn't kick out. So exit stage left for Kofi. And I guess we could wrap this up in a neat little bow concerning Kofi Kingston. We've talked about it ad nauseum since WrestleMania. Look, it was a feel-good story with a perfect ending at WrestleMania, but I think we could all agree it should have ended there. And he probably should have lost the title shortly thereafter, as I burp on the air. But, look, I really think they just dragged it out until they got to Fox when it comes to Kofi. He wasn't getting good reactions. He was having bad matches at the pay-per-views. And he wasn't – and to just be kind, he wasn't a business positive. Let's just leave it at that. So, I mean, I think it was a holding pattern champion until they put it on a legitimate star when they got to Fox. And the one that they chose was their biggest star, Brock Lesnar, which was the right decision. You want to have your biggest star holding the title on what is now the A show. So it made total sense. And look, we called this before they even hinted at it. We said they're going to move Brock to SmackDown. He's going to beat Kofi Kingston in a minute. Okay. And he's going to be your new champion. When they move to Fox, they're either, going to do it the first week of Fox or the first pay-per-view they have an opportunity to do, but that's what's going to happen. And that was the right call. I mean, they can't blow this Fox thing. So put the title and on your biggest star and build the show around Brock Lesnar. I like Kofi Kingston as much as the next guy. You're not building SmackDown on Fox around Kofi Kingston. That's just the reality of it. So that's it for Kofi. We'll see if he's elevated from here. I get the sense he's just going to float right back down to the mid-card, but we'll see. And then they do the angle. Rey Mysterio's music hits coming off of the angle on Raw, and he comes out with Cain Velasquez, which is the big surprise. This gets a tremendous response from the crowd, who did recognize him in LA for the most part. And they have a short skirmish in the ring, which Cain gets the better of, which, again, perfect angle. This is exactly how you want all of this to play out. You want to beat Kofi in 10 seconds to get him out of there. You want Cain to come out as the huge surprise. You want Cain to get the better of Brock and for Brock to roll out of the ring and take a powder. This was all handled perfectly. So tremendous final 15 minutes of SmackDown. This is going to generate a tremendous amount of interest. And we'll see if they have something with Cain Velasquez. Now, we need to break down Cain. We've seen him. Well, I've seen him wrestle twice. I think we both saw the first match. Did you watch the AAA show in New York on Access TV?
Yeah, I did not. I have it on my DVR, but I just unfortunately this week I was hoping to watch it earlier this week, and then everything that happened got caught up. So no, it's on the DVR, and I will check it out at some point. Probably now, definitely I will check out Cain's match there, but I did not see that one. But of course, I saw the Triple Mania match. So
it's much of the same. It's he's a guy who any thought you had of him at Triple Mania, you're still going to have now. He's a guy who has massive potential, who clearly is not ready for the main event spot on Fox, on SmackDown, on WWE pay-per-views. But that's not to say that they shouldn't have signed the guy. And we're recording this literally minutes after SmackDown. I assume that they've got him signed. I don't know what's going on with his UFC contract. We can't speak to any of this yet because the show just ended. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with AAA, with UFC. I would think he's done with AAA. I don't think WWE would go into business with a guy who's going to work for AAA. They would probably go into business with him if he's still going to have some UFC fights, because I think you make that concession for a star of this magnitude or a potential star of this magnitude. But he's going to need to spend a ton of time in the Performance Center and become what we all think he could become in the ring. Because that, I mean, you could protect him, and against Brock, I guess you're going to do short matches anyway. But, I mean, he's clearly not a ready for primetime dude between the bells, even though the potential is there. What do you think about that from that perspective?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, you could tell, and anytime, because I have a few, pretty big MMA fans at work, and they were like, hey, I heard that Cain's doing wrestling now. Like, how did he look? And the thing that I always said about him is, like, you could tell that he was a natural. The charisma was there. You could tell the guy just walks into the ring, takes 2 steps, does something, and the crowd goes nuts. Like, he's got that connection. And we saw that on SmackDown, too. He comes out, the crowd knew who he was, and even though he did look like, what'd you call him, like melted candle wax.
I was saving that, but yeah. I mean,
he didn't aesthetically, there's an issue. There's going to be a problem there, yeah.
So you brought that up. So that was going to be my next point, but since we've jumped the gun on it, that's the one issue I had with the angle. As soon as he took his shirt off, like you said, you kind of stole my thunder, but yeah. He looks like a melted candle. I mean, the guy looks like shit. He doesn't, and that really, I never thought about that in AAA. Did you think about that when he was wrestling in AAA?
Not really. No, I really didn't. I don't know why it was so profound here, but it really was when he took that shot. Maybe it was the pants he was wearing. Maybe he's gained weight. Like, so one of the other things too. Yeah, go ahead.
It's because WWE is such an aesthetic, and I'm not even saying they shouldn't be. It's a television product. The people should look good. Or at minimum, they should match their gimmick. I'm not saying you have to look like a Greek god, but you should, you need to look good, or you at least need to match your gimmick. And quite honestly, in the WWE setting, his body looked like shit. And it's like in MMA, it doesn't matter nearly as much if you can go and you have charisma and you can win your fights. I'm not saying it doesn't matter at all. Look always matters in any facet of entertainment. Okay. But it's like he did not look good, especially next to Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar looks like he can murder anybody on the planet. Cain Velasquez does not. You can overcome it, and you can, book him in such a way where he ultimately ends up with that kind of credibility. But on a visual level, for the people who don't, for the 10-year-old sitting at home watching SmackDown, who has no clue who this guy is, okay, he doesn't look imposing or threatening at all. I mean, he honestly looked like a fucking melted candle. Yeah. But go ahead.
No, and some of the things that they told me, it was like, and again, I don't follow MMA really extensively, so maybe you can kind of clue this in. I know you're not as, follow it as much as maybe you used to, but they said, I was like, well, what's this, what's the future of him in fighting? And they're like, yeah, he's got some issues. I think his back's hurt, his knees hurt. And man,
well, Rich, he was wearing a giant knee brace.
That's what I was going to say is like, you talked about the shirt and the aesthetics of that. To me, the worst aesthetics is that guy can't move his knees. The guy runs out to the ring or not runs, walks out to the ring, and he's wearing a knee brace over his jeans. And I'm like, that's a bad start. Like, that's not good. And I've heard from people as well that like the reason he's not doing as much fighting, the reason he's maybe not in as good a shape as he used to be is that his back and his neck and his knees are just shot. So like in terms of doing cardio, in terms of doing that stuff, he really can't do it on the level to be as maybe effective of a fighter as he wants to be these days. And when they're saying that, I'm like, all right, well, you know what? And then they're like, well, how did he look in wrestling? And I'm like, well, he was in there, in 6-man tags or whatever. So it's fine. He tags in, he does his 2 things and he gets out. That's probably not going to be what's going to happen in WWE. So that is a little concerning as well, is that can his body hold up even if it is only 1 match, or even if it's only a couple matches or whatever. That's got me a little bit concerned as well for him, because he did not aesthetically didn't look good, and his body didn't really, like, in terms of physically he didn't look like a guy who could jump into the ring and have a competent pro wrestling match anytime soon. But real quick, as we're talking about this, you were saying updates here. Mark Riamondi, I believe, is the name here. No, he's an MMA reporter. I think he's at ESPN right now. Says here, quote, Velasquez is not officially, this came out a few minutes ago after we were recording this. Actually, as we were talking, it came up, so I'm glad it did. Says, quote here, Velasquez has not officially put pen to paper with WWE, but they're getting there. Him showing up tonight on SmackDown came together in the last 24 hours or so. The UFC was aware he'd be doing this appearance and gave the okay. So he's very reliable as well. So I'm not, if he's saying it, there's some backing there for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they must be confident that they can get him signed if they were going to do this big angle with him, where he essentially punked out their biggest star. So I wouldn't really be concerned with that. But yeah, I mean, the angle came off great. There's some concerns there with Cain. A big theme coming out of this is there's a lot of people saying that Kofi deserved better. Where do you stand on that? I mean, to me, it's like, what more look, he came out of nowhere and got over as a replacement for Ali, and for once the company went with it, which is great, because normally they never go with it when someone gets over organically. And it's like, for once they went with it, and that was good. And they changed all of their plans, and they peaked the story at WrestleMania. It was the best match at WrestleMania. It was a tremendous moment. It was like, the career pinnacle. And to that point, I got no problem with how they handled Kofi. It was handled to perfection, and I will praise the company for actually going with something for once instead of saying, you know what, this isn't what we wanted, so let's squash it now. They didn't do that with Kofi. They said, fuck it, let's just go with it. And that's great. The problem was, and what was quickly shown, is that that's the story they wanted, and Kofi on top as the ace is just not what people wanted. And all of the business metrics tell you that. His reactions at the that reaction at the last pay-per-view, I mean, come on, and the match quality wasn't there in terms of the pay-per-view of the big title defenses. And I really feel like what the Kofi reign was, and before people get mad at me, okay, I'm not comparing Kofi Kingston to Dusty Rhodes. Don't send me your angry tweets that Kofi Kingston is never going to be as... I understand that Dusty Rhodes is a star 100 times the magnitude of Kofi Kingston, but just hear me out when I make this point. The Kofi Kingston title win should have been a Dusty Rhodes title win. Dusty Rhodes had, 3 NWA World title wins? I should know that off the top of my head. Was it 3 or 4?
So, yeah, you would know more than me, I think, off the top of your head. But, yeah, I think it's either 3 or 4. So
the point here is Dusty Rhodes, it's a very similar story, okay, in that the story with Dusty Rhodes was the title win. And you had to give Dusty Rhodes those title wins, or it would have annoyed fans and they would have given up on the territory. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
Like, eventually Dusty had to prevail. After all of the turmoil he goes through and everything else, at some point Dusty had to get there. But here's the thing about Dusty Rhodes. He never held the title for longer than like a month. Because the story with Dusty Rhodes was not the title reign. It was the title win. And it loses something after that. Okay? The world didn't need Dusty Rhodes to hold the NWA World title for 3 years. Okay? That wasn't the idea. It never would have worked. What the fans wanted, and what the fans wanted in those scenarios is for Dusty to just finally vanquish Ric Flair and beat his cocky ass and take that title. Okay? But Dusty, he'd always lose it right back. Okay? And that was okay, because that was the essence of Dusty's character. To me, that's what Kofi was. It was this organic story that came out of nowhere, and the story was the title win. Okay? Kofi Kingston wasn't built to be a company ace. He just wasn't. And, it would have been more it probably, if this Fox thing wasn't on the horizon, he probably would have lost it much sooner than he did. I really believe at that point, though, it was just, let's just have this as a holding pattern until we get the Fox. We got to find a way to get Brock, the Universal, the whole thing with Rollins. We got to find a way to get that feud over with, which they did. And then we could move Brock to the big show and put that title on our biggest star. And it's like, so from that perspective, this idea that Kofi deserved better than a 5-second loss. Okay. I mean, what do you want him to go 50-50 with Brock when you're going to run this huge angle with Cain Velasquez, which they're counting on to be a money angle? I mean, Kofi's story was over. It was time to move on to, bigger things. And that's not even being disrespectful, in my opinion, to Kofi Kingston. Okay? He was a Dusty Rhodes type champion, and that I think people badly wanted him to win it, and he did. But after that, it's like, all right, well, now what do we do? He's so I don't know. Where do you stand on this being the end for Kofi? Was this disrespectful? Where do you stand on this? Did he deserve better? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, the match sucked. I mean, it absolutely sucked. If you're invested in the Kofi Kingston story, and if you're invested in what's going to happen here and all this sort of stuff, it sucked. I mean, the guy didn't get one offensive maneuver. He tried one move. Brock skirted it, threw him in the F5 and pinned him, and it was over. And it's like, oh, fuck. Like, that was months and months and months that ends in 5 seconds. And it is disheartening. I get it. If you were invested in that story, it is super disheartening. But there's two things I'll say here. A, like you said, it doesn't take away or diminish or whatever you want to say of anything that happened before this period. He still has WrestleMania. He still has this run or whatever. If you want to hang your hat on, hey, look, Kofi Kingston came out of nowhere. The company went with him. He won the title at WrestleMania in a really awesome moment. And then, yeah, there were ups and downs, but goddamn it, that guy who a year ago was nobody would have ever even imagined would be in this world title picture. He got the world title. He held the world title, and he kept it. And he came into the Fox. He came into SmackDown on Fox as the champion or whatever. If you want to hold your hat, you could still nothing got taken away from that. But it does feel like a gut punch. I get it. I get why it feels like a gut punch to people. But I will counter with, what do you fucking expect from this company anymore? It is on you. If you are honestly disappointed by something, and Joe, it all goes back to Brock too. It all goes back to Brock. We shouldn't ignore that aspect of it too. If it was somebody else beating Kofi in 5 seconds, there wouldn't be as much vitriol as there is. But it's the Brock thing. They've seen Brock do this now for 4 or 5 years. He comes in, does his little shots, beats people in a minute, goes away, comes back, beats people in a minute, goes away, comes back. And you and I, we're still on board because we still think Brock, and I'm not speaking, I think I'm speaking for you, and you can chime in if not, but like, we still love Brock because he feels unique. He feels different. It feels like when he's on the screen, business is picked up. You got to keep your eyeballs on it. Something is going to happen. When he comes out, it's important. It's not just a mundane episode of Raw. It's not a mundane episode of SmackDown. Something is happening. You have to watch his matches. And I get where there's a lot of people that don't enjoy that are sick of Brock Lesnar, that are annoyed at Brock Lesnar, that think it's bullshit that he comes in here and wins these titles and goes away after everybody else works hard all year round. But like, wake up. Fucking open your eyes. This is what they've been doing. It's on you now if you get upset about this. It's free. I understand that maybe you feel like a gut punch of Kofi, but we told you, anybody listen to the show, we told you 5 weeks ago, when we heard that Brock was going to be on SmackDown Live, hell, even before they announced Brock on SmackDown Live, we said Kofi's ass is losing that title night one, and it's probably going to be to Brock Lesnar. And it's probably going to be in a minute. We were off by 55 seconds. It was 5 seconds. I maybe thought Kofi was going to get 2 moves in, but Brock was going to beat him. People would still be the same upset if he got 2 moves in and then Brock still beat him. This is particularly egregious, but it shows you what they think, who they think their stars are. They think Brock Lesnar is their star. They don't think Kofi's their star. And they're right.
And they're right. Okay, listen, to be fair, didn't Kofi have 6 months to get over as a megastar? They gave him 6 months for that title. I mean, and he was clearly less over as champion than he was in the build-up, which is why I say he's more of a Dusty Rhodes type champion than someone who you can build your brand or your company around as an ace. Because with Dusty, the money was in the chase. Okay? With Kofi, the money was in the chase. And that's it. And it almost worked in his favor that there was this holding pattern until they got the Fox, because it gave him 6 months to sustain that momentum.
Oh, absolutely. I honestly thought that they were maybe going to have him drop it to Orton before they even went on SmackDown, and then Orton would just get beat by Brock or whatever. But, the way it worked is the way, and like you're saying, because they had this weird, like, you know what, let's just hold it off. Let's hold it off until Fox. You're absolutely right. Like, this could have been done in 3 months ago. They could have done this, but in some way, but and to your point too, you mentioned how, like, Brock is the bigger star. Brock is more over than Kofi, and some of that is self-fulfilling prophecy as well. They've told you that Brock is the only guy that matters in this company. And that's where I come down when I see people going, this is bullshit, I can't believe this, yada, yada, yada. Well, your ass is going to be back next week watching this, complaining about Brock. Like, the onus is on you at this point. Like, why are you surprised that they were going to do this with Brock Lesnar? You really, honestly, in your heart of hearts, tuned in, got on your couch, turned on SmackDown on Fox and said, oh boy, I can't wait for Kofi and Brock to go 15, 20 minutes and Kofi to almost maybe do it, or hey, Kofi beats him. Like, what did you fucking think was going to happen? Like, you are not allowed. I'm honestly, at this point in 2019, you are not allowed to get upset when Brock Lesnar comes in and beats somebody in a minute. Because that is on you. They have told you, this is what we're going to do with Brock Lesnar, and this is what we think of Brock Lesnar, and this is what we think of everybody else on this roster.
But listen, doesn't the angle work better if he just beats the guy in 5 seconds?
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. I'm more speaking. I'm kind of doing a straw man here of people that are getting upset about this. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you're an idiot if you're getting upset about this. It's on you. But I love it. Yeah, perfect. Fuck it. He's done. Here's the star. Let's go. Yeah,
you want Brock smirking and being cocky and saying, this is too easy, right? And then Cain coming out, and then Cain getting that short physical advantage, and you go, whoa. Kofi Kingston was no match for this guy, but this Cain, wow, this is incredible. Finally, someone that can, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw a tweet about it that they're like, I saw somebody, and it wasn't anybody that really matters or whatever, but it was just kind of funny because I just wanted to scream, yes, that's the fucking point, because they were like, well, the guy that just beat the champion in 5 seconds just got punked out by, like, the new guy. I'm like, yes, exactly, pro wrestling. That's what it is. That's the angle.
Yeah, you're trying to get Cain over. So the idea is, if you're trying to get Cain over, the best thing to do is for Brock to completely dominate the other guy.
Exactly.
Okay, you can't to have a 15-minute back and forth match. Then it's not so impressive when Cain Velasquez comes down and beats up a sweaty, tired, gassed Brock Lesnar. What listen, this might be what's hard to accept for people. Okay, the goal in the final 15 minutes of SmackDown was to get Cain Velasquez over. Kofi Kingston does not matter. Listen, that's just a hard truth. Kofi Kingston does not matter in this scenario. What you do with Kofi next week, we can break that down at another time. This week, the goal is to get Cain over, okay? And I would not have done anything different. I thought the final 15 minutes of SmackDown, other than Cain's physical appearance, were perfect. So, maybe Kofi has that Dusty magic where there is money and another Kofi chase at some point. But here's the thing about that. I think the long 6-month title reign might have sucked the juice out of that too. I think had Kofi lost the next night after WrestleMania or lost on the next pay-per-view, whatever the fuck, lost quickly the way Dusty used to, then there's still that thirst for him to chase again. Do you see what I'm saying? Which is why all of those Dusty chases worked. But now that we've seen him hold the title for 6 months, right? And we were all kind of like, I don't know that there's going to be that hunger to see him chase again. I don't know, though. I have to see how fans react to him next week and, next month and what they do with him. But that's kind of my gut reaction on that one. You kind of already fucking played this out by giving him the long run, and maybe fans are like, okay, we had that story. It wasn't as good after he won it. We're kind of done with it. But we'll see. Mm-hmm. But right now, it's all about getting Cain Velasquez over. That's all that matters, because Cain and Brock can be a difference-making program for them. They see Cain and Brock as something that can increase their network subscriptions when Cain finally has a match, because you're going to save his first match for a pay-per-view. If you don't save his first match for a pay-per-view, you're out of your goddamn mind. I guess we should address that. Do you agree with me there?
I guess. I mean, well, here's the thing, though. We're going to see what these Fox numbers come up with. And this could be I'm not saying they're going to rush Cain here in the next 2 weeks or whatever, but if that number comes in not good and there's some issues there or whatever, this is a whole new world now. I mean, we're going to talk about in a little bit. We're going to preview a WWE pay-per-view right now that's happening apparently in 2 days that has 3 matches announced for it. I don't know that pay-per-view matters. I don't know if the network matters number one to them right now. And I don't know if that's going to change in 3 months. I don't know if it's going to change in 4 months. If they skirt to a perfectly good rating on Fox and everyone's happy and everyone's good, then then it'll all be about network subscriptions again. They won't have to worry. But I don't know. In this new world, if that number doesn't come in right, or there's some drops, there's some or whatevers, we don't know what the clauses are. We always talk about that. There's probably something in there for Fox to look at and say, hey, look, you guys aren't delivering on your end of the deal. And if that does, and I'm doing a worst case scenario here thing. If that's the case, then you kind of do it on Fox, right? If that's that's where you're making your money right now. More than anything right now is on Fox. So I don't know. To me, no, ideally you would put it on pay-per-view and pump up network subscriptions, but I don't know. We don't know what this new universe is going to be. If Fox isn't happy and says, you know what, that Cain Brock thing, that'll bring some ratings in. Why don't you put that on Fox? And convince and WWE really say, no, we're going to put it on our own thing. If Fox is the one cutting $1 billion check, we're in a whole new world now, man. I don't know. I don't know the traditional booking, if that really matters anymore.
Well, here's what I do know. Every measurable business metric dropped with Seth Rollins, Kofi Kingston on top. Inarguable. That's an objective fact. So it's like, if they want to try Brock Cain as Cain Velasquez, not the mayor. If they want to try Brock and Velasquez on top as a hot new program with inarguably their two biggest stars. If Ronda's not around, you'd throw her in the mix if she was. With inarguably their two biggest stars on top to try to reverse their business trends, their ratings, their network buys. I don't know. Look, those guys are never going to work house shows, but you figure a hotter product means better house show attendance by sheer spillover. Then I can't kill them for this. I thought that the angle came off well, and I think it's the right direction to go. I don't know. And again, we talked about Raw, whether it was last week or the week before. As much as I don't like The Fiend, okay, I think you're pot committed with The Fiend now, and there's no other decision than to go all in with The Fiend as well. I think on Raw, you go all in with The Fiend and let it sink or swim. I think it'll sink. Maybe I'm wrong. And I think on SmackDown, you go all in with Brock and Cain, which is so very clearly, if you didn't think it was really going to be the A show, now you know it's the A show. When you've got Brock and Cain Velasquez on top on Fox, and you've got Seth Rollins, who is has never, moved business a nickel, and the experimental Fiend on top on Raw. So that's what I would do. I'd go all in on the Fiend. He would win the title easily on the pay-per-view, which we detailed last week. And, but you make a good point. You may not be able to save Cain for a pay-per-view. But I think the early returns on Fox are going to be good, like we talked about when we started the show. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to take a few months for them to settle in. So, but listen, if they come out at a gate with 3 million tomorrow, and look, the rating will be out by the time a lot of people listen to this, but I'm just saying, if they come out with a bad number tomorrow, then you might be on to something. But if they're starting on high ground, if they come out with 6.5 million, it's going to take a few weeks to whittle that down.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. My biggest thing too is there's that, and then I have no idea. We don't know quite yet. We're not sure. This new landscape is all different, but I'm always curious too what sort of influence Fox would have, and if like somebody gets a bug in their ass in some meeting and goes, wait a minute, why no, promote that on our show, on our network. We're the one paying you a bunch of money. Why are you doing it on your streaming service or whatever? I mean, this is an interesting thing. It's a whole new world now. You know what I mean? And we talked about this when the deals went down. Is WWE is in very much beholden to these networks. They're very much beholden to Fox. I mean, Fox is cutting a gigantic check to them. So Fox says, do this. To Vince and WWE, can they really just say, no, we're not. We're
okay,
good.
But don't you want to grow the WWE network so you're not as beholden to these guys?
Oh, I know, I agree, but what if those guys say, no, fuck you, put this on our channel?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right
like,
now,
this is that weird thing. Like,
game.
they've never had to do this before. USA has basically just said, hey, thank you, WWE, for keeping us number one on cable. That's all we need. Bye. And they've been great partners in that sense. They have let WWE do whatever they have wanted for years and years and years and years and years. TNT and Spike or whatever, when they went there, it was kind of the same deal too. They're like, fuck, we have WWE in the height of their powers. Cool. Do whatever, guys. We don't care. This is the first time that WWE, in a lot of ways, aren't playing from the place of power. Like, Fox is the power here. Fox holds everything here. And I don't know what the deal says. I don't know what what sort of caveats they have there, but I know that they cut a massive check to these guys, and that they're going to care what is going on their network, and they're going to care what WWE does. And again, I don't know if that means that they're going to demand stuff. I don't know what it is, but like the old days of WWE just being able to do whatever the hell they wanted, and the TV network just being like, yeah, cool, whatever, man, keep it up. Like, those are kind of over, I think. Unless, like, they come out with a gigantic number and they keep that number sustained, then Fox will just say, hey, fuck it, cool, great, awesome. Keep doing what you guys are doing. But like you're saying, if the number doesn't come in great, if there is some reservations, or if Fox just decides, hey, look, you're promoting all this shit on our network to get people to go buy something that's not on our network, like, I don't know. I just think we're in a different universe now. That's going to be a different thing. Like, there's no way that Fox is going to be completely happy every single week with them promoting stuff off of Fox when they're the ones cutting the big check. So, right. You know, like, and if I'm Fox, I look at that too and go, nah, dude, like, you know, put Cain and Brock on here and promote this and promote that and promote MLB, and like, they're now a part of, and this is a whole new universe for WWE too. It really is. This is a whole new universe of them also being beholden to promote shit and promote the upcoming World Series game, to promote whatever fucking stupid Fox show is going to be on pretty soon. Again, USA has been a great partner in that sense that they haven't really given a shit. They've just kind of said, do whatever, go on our network, give us good ratings, and bye. Things change now, man. Fox is a big deal. It's a big network. You know, they're going to promote you, but they want you to promote their stuff too, and it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I'm fascinated to see how that interaction works.
And we're going to play the ratings game that we just played on Thursday again this weekend. So, you know, is 3 million? Would you agree that'd be a really bad number?
So the normal Raws now are what, about 2.2 to 2.7, somewhere in that range, right? Is that what kind of the gap has been? So yeah, 3 is a disaster. If on fucking Fox with all of that advertisement is a disaster.
I'm just setting our baselines here. And again, this will be out by the time a lot of people hear it. What would you consider a standing ovation number? 6 million, 6.5 million?
Yeah, somewhere I'd say
million?
like 5 to 6 would be standing ovation, I think.
So if they hit 5 million, you're like, that's a tremendous success.
I think so. Yeah, because that like almost doubles what you get on Raw, and I think that's almost kind of the minor expectation you have to have on Fox. It's network TV. We've put a bunch of muscle behind it. The Rock's here, Brock's here. Yeah, you gotta assume that you gotta be in that range for sure.
So between 3 and 5 million, you're like, let it play out.
I think so. Not great, but not bad. You know, depending on what end of that it is. If it's right at 3, I'm like, we want a little bit more than that. And if it's closer to 5, it's like, okay, well, whatever. We can move up from that. You know, on that low end of 3,
and 5, you're saying nicely done.
Yeah, I think so.
And anything over 6, you're like, tremendous, a rousing success.
I would, yeah. That'd be mine.
Okay. Anything under 3, you're like, give the money back.
I mean, right? If you can only do, you know, roughly 1 million more people on Fox with Joe Buck putting your show over and every affiliate running commercials and all this sort of stuff, and you bring The Rock out and you tell us that Brock's going to come out, you do all this sort of stuff, all of the muscle they put into this, if that's 3 million viewers, and you did, you know, 250,000 more people than watch USA and watch Raw on Mondays, then yeah, that's a disaster, an absolute disaster.
Yeah,
it's $1 billion fucking dollars. Like, yeah, that's a fucking disaster.
I agree. I'm just setting the template for our show next week.
Yeah.
So, because we're going to be playing, and listen, if you're the kind of person and you're the kind of fan that's like, there's nothing more boring than ratings talk, blah, 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 this is going to be a bad period of wrestling for you, because it's back, baby. Ratings talk is back. I mean, it is a full-on war on Wednesdays, I guess is a good transition. And you know, these Friday night SmackDown numbers are going to be examined with a fine-tooth comb as well. So let's talk about Wednesday a little bit. Again, I did my piece of audio, which ascended me to godlike status behind the paywall. But we've got some additional details and whatnot to break down when it comes to, listen, there's no other way to phrase it, Rich. It was an absolute slaughter. AEW beat NXT to the point of embarrassment. I mean, there's no spin. It was just a complete and thorough ass kicking in every measurable way. And I don't think anyone was expecting that.
No.
I mean,
I wasn't. I was wrong. I'm not often wrong on the show, Joe. Very, very, very rarely am I wrong on the show, but I was wrong. I thought NXT was going to beat him. I really did.
Well, even if you thought AEW was going to win, I saw some reasonable opinions that AEW would win. I don't think anyone thought they would win to this level. That you would have gotten laughed at if you said what ultimately occurred. And the more details that come out, I mean, the more striking it is. I mean, everyone knows by now, 1.4 million to 891,000. I mean, they beat them by, 500,000 viewers, which is crazy when the baseline expectation given to AEW by TNT was 500,000 viewers.
which was laughable at the time, too. We laughed at that figure, too.
We knew they'd crush that.
Yeah, I didn't think they would nearly triple it. But, yeah.
But I think TNT is doing somersaults when their baseline expectation was tripled and was actually the gap between TNT and USA was 500,000 viewers. One of the other more embarrassing numbers to me was AEW did nearly as many viewers in the 18 to 49 demo as NXT did total viewers.
Yeah, let's. Do you want to go over some of these numbers? Like I copy and pasted them from this Observer.
That one's disturbing.
No, that is like, and I didn't see a lot of people talking about that one. I think we were talking about it a lot on Twitter. I saw a lot of people just looking at the raw numbers, but that one was like the flashing red lights, boom, 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 bing, 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 and that's why I wanted to get on this show and talk about it here too. Yeah, I know you talked a lot about ratings, but that was the same one where I saw people talking about the overall number. I'm like, yeah, whatever. That's not good. That is your core demographic, the demographic that you say that you're going after, the demographic that you have all this fucking Instagram and social media and Snapchat and all this other bullshit that you're trying to target is that demographic, and you got fucking slaughtered in that demographic, destroyed in that demographic, not even close in that demographic. And that to me was like, holy shit, if I'm in WWE offices, I look at this and go, oh my God, we've completely lost it.
That's like, the most disturbing figure.
Our audience is dying, and I love it, Joe. Oh my God, the amount of replies saying, "Well, young people don't watch TV anymore. That's why." It's like, you fucking morons! Like, look at the pattern. People were watching somehow. Those young cord cutters that don't watch TV anymore fucking found TNT on their network on Wednesday. They sure found a way to get to TNT and reattach that cord real quick. So
here's the counter to that. Okay, agreed. The data shows that young people are watching less TV than ever before. That's why that networks and advertisers are so focused on this demographic, because they're hard to reach.
Right, you got to keep them, got to capture them, got to have them.
And the young people that did so happen to watch wrestling on Wednesday night overwhelmingly chose TNT over USA. That's what matters. Not that young people are watching less TV than ever. Everyone knows that. You're not, that's not breaking news. The news here is the young people that did watch wrestling that night overwhelmingly chose one over the other. And when you really dig into the numbers, it becomes even more glaring in that AEW has an audience that they can build on in the years to come, where WWE's audience is over 50 years old and they're not capturing those people. WWE has a young person problem, and it's glaring, and AEW has shined a spotlight on it. And the demo number is the one that the advertisers and the networks care about. And again, to hammer this home, if you don't understand ratings or understand how important this is, AEW essentially did the same amount of viewers in the demo that NXT did in total. That is so enormously obscene and absurd that it cannot be stressed enough. Okay, So let's go over some of these other numbers, Rich. Go
ahead.
Yeah,
let's do it. Yeah, so all this was in this week's Wrestling Observer. So if you want to follow along, f4wonline.com, you can do that.
And a lot of it, to be fair, a lot of it can be found on your own as well. This data is not...
Exactly. It's not proprietary to Dave. You can find it all. But he put in a nice little package here for us to read. So.
Absolutely. I mean, I wanted to pump out super quick audio that day and give people, so I used the quick and dirty, but I got quite granular myself. But Dave in the Observer went super granular, which we'll talk about. David Bixenspan, I think on Deadspin, went super deep as well. So we're going to go over some of those even deeper figures than I went on behind the paywall. But go ahead.
All right, so it says, quote here, the night when it came to ratings was a big win for AEW, drawing 1.4 million viewers to 891,000 for NXT. More important, because for the stations themselves, this was a battle about the 18 to 49 demo, where AEW placed second for the night behind only the Major League Baseball wildcard game that did a 1.03 in the demo and 3.9 million, just under 4 million viewers. AEW did a 0.86 and 878,000 viewers in 18 to 49, while NXT did a 0.32 and 414 viewers. So right there, again, if you look at the numbers there, overall, and that's what Joe was talking about, overall NXT did 891. AEW did 878 in just the 18 to 49 demo.
Yes, and more than doubled NXT's number in the demo. NXT did 414,000 viewers in the 18 to 49. Less than half of the 878 that AEW did in the I mean, that I'm telling you right now, that is what behind the scenes people in AEW and people in TNT are ecstatic about and throwing parties, because that is a gap. Listen, NXT is never making up that gap. I mean, that is an impossible gap. They might tighten it in total viewers. We'll see. But that gap is fucking enormous and had to be terrifying to the people in WWE when these numbers and listen, we know that it shook WWE because they tried to get ahead of the story by sending a press release.
Oh yeah, when that press came out, I was like, "Oh boy, they got slaughtered." Oh boy, here's the exact wording of this. Congratulations to AEW on a successful premiere. The real winners of last night's head-to-head telecast of NXT on USA Network and AEW on TNT are the fans, who can expect Wednesday nights to be a competitive and wild ride, as this is a marathon, not a one-night sprint. AK, we got fucking slaughtered.
That was a red flag. That was, oh shit, these numbers are horrendous. And we need to get ahead of this. I mean, what a fascinating day Thursday was. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not a company that gets humbled very often, and this was certainly one of them. So, again, there another factor is that when you add the replay numbers, which you don't officially have at this point, but was around 650,000 viewers for AEW as well, which is not too far behind a typical Raw and pretty much identical to what SmackDown has been doing Tuesdays on USA. So even the replay for AEW had pretty good numbers. And I did want to make one little caveat here, because I know some people might be listening and thinking, well, the demographics of the channels or whatnot. Joe, you know American TV. Would you consider TNT like a young person channel? I wouldn't. I watch TNT for basketball. And that's probably right. Like,
you watch TNT for basketball, and then you never think about TNT again.
Joe, if you told me list 5 shows that are regular on TNT, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, here's when Rich Craich puts on TNT: basketball and NCAA tournament first round when they have it.
Right, yeah,
TNT,
exactly.
TBS. Yeah, I mean, you're never looking at it again. So no, and even if it was, what's the difference? The numbers are what they are.
Right. Well, I could see some people being like, because it's a channel what young people watch, so that's why young people are watching it. And it's like, no, I don't think that many young people are watching. Right.
But who cares?
Exactly. Right. They're still getting those fans. So
it's the numbers are what they are. But
watching Claws, Joe. Claws. Have you ever watched Claws?
I don't even know what the hell
Animal
that is.
Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom's a big show for them. Animal Kingdom's a big show for them. That's not like safari footage. That's a
it's like a drug. She's like it's like a grandma that's like a Narcos. It's like Narcos grandma, right?
It's a drama. Yeah, it's a drama. Yeah, and that's a big show for them. Yeah,
well, TNT, they know drama, so I'm not surprised.
That's right.
At least I know their tagline. So see, maybe I knew it a little bit more. But I pretty much only know TNT from watching Marv Albert have to, like, through gritted teeth, talk about Animal Kingdom coming up this Tuesday on TNT. We know drama. All right.
Chris Jericho.
Remember that freak out?
Yeah.
You had Marv Albert. Fucking 65-year-old Marv Albert to know who Chris Jericho is. Oh, if Marv Albert doesn't know, Marv Albert, the last wrestling Marv Albert watched was Bruno. Maybe.
Remember how Chris Jericho spelled doom for AEW because Marv Albert didn't know how to pronounce his name? Have you seen some of these NFL promos for SmackDown?
Oh my God, yeah. Well, they're just openly making fun of wrestling while it's happening.
Where, they're trying their best, but that's the thing. They're not even openly making fun of it. They're trying their best to put it over, and they're just coming off poorly because none of them know any of the wrestlers. And it's funny how the same people who said Chris Jericho was going to be a disaster conveniently ignore that these in-game promos during Fox NFL have been 1,000 times worse. It doesn't matter whether Mark Schlereth knows who Rey Mysterio is or not. It does not fucking matter if Marv Albert knows how to pronounce Chris Jericho, which he should know because Jericho is not even that's like a word.
Yeah, that's kind of a bad job out of Marv there.
Yeah. Anyway,
I mean, he can pronounce Giannis Antetokounmpo every single week, but he can't get Jericho.
Do people not remember when UFC was on Fox and the Fox NFL announcers would botch all of those UFC names of because those aren't even gimmick names. Those are guys that are just Bulgarian with these impossible to pronounce. They would always botch the pronunciation. Nobody cares. It does not make a difference. All that matters is you get that graphic on the screen that says SmackDown's coming to Fox this Friday. Put it on.
Right.
That's all that matters.
All right, let's go here. NXT. So these are the NXT ratings. We'll start with them. 0.15 in the 12 to 17. That's up 25% from last week. 0.23 in 18 to 34, up 15% from last week. So they were up in the 18 to 34 range. So more 18 to 34-year-olds were watching it than they were watching it the prior week. But we'll get to that in a sec because, of course, AEW did a little bit better in that. 0.41 in the 35 to 49. Now, that was down 6.8% from last week. So a lot of the kind of older fans down this week in some prices probably, of course, going to AEW there. And then 0.36 in 50 plus. That's down 25% from last week as well. So Dave says here, the increases under 34 were what you would expect for the more loaded show, but over 35, they were hurt. The show did a 64.1% males in 18 to 49 and 49% male in 12 to 17. Last week was 63.5% and 61.5% respectively. So
here's all that matters with all of these demo breakdowns. AEW crushed them in every one of them, except for 50 plus. 50 plus was the only demo that NXT won, and it's the one that that television people ignore.
Yeah, well, actually, what's interesting about that though is so the differences in the 50 plus is NXT is 0.36, AEW is 0.34, so it's very close in that 50 plus. The thing that I look at is NXT was down 25% from last week in that 50 plus. So the ones that they did have, a lot of them did actually go over to AEW too, or just didn't watch TV at all. I presume that the fans that were watching NXT last week didn't just say, well, I'm done with wrestling this week, and didn't move over. So yeah, go ahead.
The 50 plus, people that watch WWE are just old school wrestling fans who have no other wrestling to watch. This week they did, and they watched the other show. That's why the 50 plus was down 25%. From last week for NXT.
Right.
Because a lot of those people said, well, I got another option, something I might actually enjoy on the other channel. That's what happened there. So it's like they barely won that demo against it. But I just thought it was funny that's the only demo they won. Those other demos you mentioned, AEW more than doubled NXT in every one of those younger demos. They essentially doubled them in every one of them. They more than doubled in the teenage demo. They exactly doubled them up in the 18 to 34, and they essentially doubled them up in the 35 to 49. Young people who the advertisers and the networks covet overwhelmingly chose AEW over NXT. And to me, that's the big story here that we'll talk about as we move forward. Go ahead.
All right, so AEW now, 0.36 in the 12 to 17, 0.56 in the 18 to 34, 0.80 in 35 to 49. So that's a huge number for them. Yeah, the 35 to 49. So
that is such a huge win for them. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, and those fans too. And if you think about that, there's some interesting traction with those fans because those are people that grew up with WCW. Those are people that do know of wrestling on TNT, and apparently they were able to get them, doubled, to what NXT had. So that's a lot of fans either leaving, because down 6.8% NXT was in that demo, and then 0.8 for the 35 to 49s. That's a lot of fans leaving NXT to go to watch AEW, and maybe a lot of fans that hadn't been watching wrestling in a while that remember WCW and remember wrestling on TNT moving over there, because that's a huge number for that 35 to 49. So
here's all you need to know: AEW beat Raw and SmackDown significantly in viewers under 34. Not NXT. Let me repeat that. AEW beat both Raw and SmackDown significantly in viewers under 34. And the only edge that NXT had was again, as we talked about, that over 50. I mean, that's Rich. That's huge. And I don't think enough people are talking about this. They're already beating Raw and SmackDown in viewers under 34, which is crazy. And they just got started. Now, you have to put on a good show and get those people to keep coming back. That's a big thing here. And that's what we'll talk about in the weeks moving forward. And then the teenage numbers, if you want to get into those,
wow. These are something else. Yeah, let's do this right here. In Justling at Teenagers, they've said this as well. Boys, so teenage boys, saw AEW with head-to-head competition from a WWE product, and only the first episode beat unopposed Raw by 37.5%. Teenage boys, 37.5% more watched AEW this week than watched Raw.
Yeah.
That's, again, red flags if I'm WWE. That's bad.
And they beat SmackDown by 42.1% with teenage boys.
Yeah. And 239% over NXT. I mean, that is, if that's not on the bulletin board saying, okay, we got an issue. We are not speaking to teenage boys, and those are fans of the future. Those are me in 1998. You got me in 1998, and I've never left. You know what I mean? Or you got me in 1997, and I'm still fucking here doing this. You need the teenage boy demographic. That's a huge demographic for them.
And that's why I say WWE has a young person problem, okay? Because they are not getting the teenagers. It's like the younger you get, the less they're capturing. They're getting those 50 plus. That's their like median viewer. We've been harping on that. Okay, the higher end of the demo, they're getting some of those people. The lower end of the demo, under 34, AEW is already ahead of them. Okay, and then when you get down to teenagers, they're just not getting them any. The younger you get, the less people are watching. And they gear their goal is to capture young people, and they just don't.
Yeah.
They fail miserably.
Well, what's actually pretty funny is, and Dave's always brought this up too. And if you look at like Attitude Era numbers, like people have this assumption that when the Attitude Era happened, it was just like all like older teenagers and older people watching for the steamy sex scenes and all the crazy stuff. No, it was young kids. It was me and my friends. Like we wanted to watch that shit because it was risque and we felt cool watching it. But now when you sort of say, hey, this is a show for kids, the last thing that's going to happen is kids watch it. Because when you tell teenagers, hey, this is our show for you, cool dudes, it's like the last thing they do is watch it. They don't want to watch shows for themselves. They want to watch shows that they feel like so they've completely lost that. And these numbers were staggering too.
Look, Rich, nobody thinks Seth Rollins is cool.
Right.
I mean, it's just, kids, teenagers don't think New Day is cool, throwing pancakes. I mean, they have this idea of what they think people think is cool, and it's not. And that's the problem here. They have a young person problem, and it's bad, and it's glaring, and AEW, all they've done is magnify it. But just skipping around here, the 18 to 34-year-old males beat Raw by 39.9%, SmackDown by 36.4%, and NXT head-to-head by 158%. I mean, these are not small numbers, okay? These are huge, glaring numbers. 18 to 34-year-old women. AEW beat Raw by 13.5%, SmackDown by 37%, and beat NXT by 48.8%.
That one too, not to interrupt you there, but that's another one too, because WWE has done, I think in the last 5 years, a lot of effort to try to appeal to women by producing, a lot more women's wrestling, a lot more, conscious women's wrestling, like good women's wrestling, like all that sort of stuff of making it, hey, look, we respect women, the women's revolution, all this sort of stuff. And for that to happen as glaring as it did right off the bat there, where women exceedingly go over to AEW, who has, and we'll admit to a pretty piss poor women's division, for them to go over there is interesting. I really, because that's another one I don't want to lose from WWE. I don't want to lose any of these from WWE, but that's another one too that I feel like, fuck, how do we not win that with all that we've done?
You have brought it up on this show, and I brought it up behind the paywall on Thursday. But the dirty little secret about the Women's Revolution is that it has not drawn female viewers.
Right, they don't care. They don't want to watch it.
Do not care. It's women
and that's
not
in the data too. We should say that we're not just saying that. Look at the data. Look at ratings patterns every single week. We've talked about it on the show too. But yeah,
we just read it to you, and it's in the ratings patterns. This is objective. It has not connected with women. The women's, it's like, and all of it they've tried. You know, when you look at characters like Sasha Banks and the Riot Squad and fucking Liv Morgan and all, women, in particular young women, don't care. It hasn't attracted them. So that's, you know, it just hasn't worked. And to just come out of the gate with a brand new show and draw more women viewers is again, has to be very scary when they've put all of that effort into improving their women's division in WWE, and, you know, to the point where they main evented WrestleMania, and rightfully so, with a Ronda Rousey match, which, you know, I don't think anybody really argued too hard that it shouldn't have main evented. That's how far they've come in terms of pushing the women and treating them differently. But the female viewers have not responded, and no one really talks about that. So what else we got here?
All right, so some other things here. Conversely, once you get to 35 to 49, both Raw and SmackDown have solid edges with both men and women, although AEW basically doubled NXT, so that's the 35 to 49. Over right. 50, NXT. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, yeah.
So this is what we're talking about. The older you get, the closer it gets.
Right.
Until eventually, the next point you're going to make, WWE does overcome AEW once you hit. Go ahead.
The over 50. So yeah, over 50, NXT beats AEW slightly, and Raw beats AEW 0.99 to 0.34, and SmackDown beats it 0.97 to 0.34. So old people are not watching AEW that first week. They didn't watch AEW that first week, and they watched WWE. So that's good. You know, if I'm WWE, I go, yeah, that's cool. But no TV network in the world, no company in the world really gives a shit about the 50 plus. Maybe Fox News, but other than that, like, nobody else really is saying, hell yeah, we got the 50 plus. There we go, guys. All right, let's move on. Like,
listen, having a ton of viewers isn't a bad thing.
It's good. Yeah,
it's like having a lot of RBIs in baseball. Like, it's not bad to have 140 RBIs, right? But how much does it really mean, right? That's kind of the comparison I can make. In that, you know, all of these Fox News shows will do, you know, 6 million viewers a night, but they'll get crushed in the demo. Okay. So yeah, you're going to get reverse mortgage ads, and you're going to get commemorative coin ads and things like that.
Gold, yeah. Trade all your money in for gold.
Right. And fucking Life Alert and everything else. But you're not going to get, you know, top paying advertising. You're not going to get fucking, you know, the same type of advertisers that shows that crush it in the demos do, and you're not going to make the same kind of money. So, essentially,
those commemorative coin ads. Anytime I'm in a doctor's office and they're playing Fox News, I'm like, oh, god damn it! There's so many commemorative coin ads. And I'm like, who's buying these? Why are you buying them? Like, I'm sure there's a grandma somewhere that's like, oh, like the inaugural, like, you know, oh, Alaska became a state, you know, 100 years ago. I better buy that coin. Right. Like, why are you buying that? But, you know, hey, it's working. Hey, it must be working, man. They're throwing those up there every single time. So.
Your grandmother and your great aunt buy those, and they give them to you for Christmas.
Right.
And then you put them in the closet and never look at them.
Exactly. Oh, did you know Alaska became a state 150 years ago? Oh, yeah, no, I didn't, but cool.
Thank her, and you give her a hug, and, you know, you put it in the closet and you never look at it again. But that, you know, and reverse mortgage scams and Wilford Brimley talking about diabetes, and those are the kind of commercials you get. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with having a shit ton
blood pressure medication. Yeah, you get a lot of blood pressure medication. So that's good. Maybe WWE needs to start showing some more of those ads.
Here's the difference. WWE's not doing a shit ton of viewers either. Okay? At least fucking, you know, whoever. I couldn't even name a Fox News show. Name one.
Yeah, random blonde white woman complains about something. Yeah, that
right.
show.
So it's like, even though it's like, at least, you know, that's doing a shit ton of total viewers, even if it's small in the demo. WWE shows aren't doing a shit ton of total viewers, and a lot of those viewers are in the 50 plus, and it's the complete opposite of what AEW did coming out of the gate, which shows you that the average viewer age of WWE is a WWE problem, not a wrestling problem, which was something that we weren't really sure of until this past week, and of course it has to sustain. But what's opening our eyes are being opened up to is this is a WWE issue, and that younger people might be interested in wrestling, but it's got to be good wrestling that appeals to them, and not whatever the fuck this overproduced, super glossy vision and shitty storytelling version of wrestling that WWE is producing that they think is what people want. But we're quickly being taught might not be the case. So what was also surprising to me, Rich, at least for young people, but what was also surprising to me, Rich, is also, wasn't NXT supposed to be the young, hip brand in WWE?
Yeah, I think that was the thing, too, is if these numbers were up against a Raw or whatever, I would say, yeah, I get it, man. Raw's an institution. Old people watch Raw, but NXT is supposed to be for us. It's supposed to be for me. Yeah. It's, wrestlers that I grew up with, or, I watched, immersed in the scene.
For people in the demo is what you're saying.
Exactly, yeah. The long and the short of it is people in the 18 to 49 or even more, aggressively, that 18 to 34 demographic should be all in on NXT, and they aren't.
Even less so than Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, it's staggering.
Especially when put up against something, an alternative. So it's like, that was even more surprising to me, which shouldn't have been, because, week 2, they really suffered and dropped in all of those demos, if you recall last week, which I think we just quickly glossed over. But it's like, people checked out NXT week 1, and, it dropped week 2. And that same thing could happen to AEW next week. This is the thing. If you're new to this, if you're 25 years old and you don't remember the original Monday Night War, and you don't remember, it's a new narrative every week. Right, Rich? It's like, we can come on here next week and be burying AEW.
Sure.
Because things shifted. It's a new narrative every week. So we'll see what happens next week. But what was surprising to me was the young, hip WWE brand, or at least how it's presented. It got slaughtered even worse than Raw and SmackDown in the Prime demos. And the other thing was NXT had a 2-week head start to build storylines and build up to this show. They had the advantage of a 15-minute overrun that was granted to them by longtime promotional partner USA. They had a takeover level lineup on paper with 3 title matches. They had a huge main roster surprise in the first 22 minutes of the show. They had no commercial breaks for the first 30 minutes. They had strategically placed commercial breaks that USA agreed to match TNT's commercial breaks so that they didn't have channel flipping. They had that advantage as well. And they also had what they also did was they invited the wrestling press to tour the Performance Center the day before the 2 shows went head to head in order to curtail coverage of AEW. And in a lot of cases that worked. And I'm not knocking any of these people. Ryan Satin was in the Performance Center on Wednesday as an example. Other reporters took them up on that offer and toured the Performance Center and spent all day Wednesday talking about the Performance Center and NXT on Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm sorry, Tuesday.
Yeah, our invite must have got lost in the mail because I didn't get it, Joe. Did you toss yours away or what happened?
I mean, I wouldn't have went anyway.
No, I'm not going to fucking Florida. Are you kidding me? But yeah, it would have been nice to know. But hey, whatever. You're missing our demo there. That's cool. That's cool, guys. It's fine.
I had no interest in visiting the Performance Center, none. But and other reporters saw through it and didn't go. Like Dave Meltzer said, I got a job to do. I can't be bouncing around Florida on fucking Wednesday when I got, what I mean? So it's like, but again, I'm just highlighting all of the things because WWE, this is not their first go round. Okay, they know how these things work.
Oh, absolutely. This was a coordinated war effort by them.
Coordinated. So you have all of those advantages they had: the 2-week head start, the takeover lineup, Finn Balor showing up, trying to fuck with the media, having 30 minutes commercial free, having strategically placed commercials, and they still got their ass kicked by AEW. The only advantage AEW had was it was the premiere and you get the curiosity views. Other than that, Rich, AEW just ran their TV show. Okay? They didn't, hot shot any angles. They didn't do 1,000 title matches. the week 1 Dynamite, I think, is going to closely look like the week 18 Dynamite. I mean, they didn't really do anything super special, while WWE clearly stacked the deck, and they still got destroyed.
Right, and it's not sustainable, too. And that's the biggest thing is I had a lot of people saying, okay, well, what does NXT do next? Like, what's the next thing? And that's the issue with if you just blow all this stuff out and go, okay, boom, 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 here you go, here's everything we have, and this is the numbers that happens, and this is sort of the result of it, then where do you go from here? And that's something I've heard from a lot of people, and I guess it's like fucking Roman Reigns is going to be showing up, and John Cena's going to be showing up, and the Hulkster is going to be there saying, hey, dudes, I heard all the good wrestling happens on NXT, brother, and it's like that's the playbook. The problem, though, is a lot of people said, well, is that a good playbook? Is that what's going to change it? And the answer to me is probably no. I mean, it doesn't change it on Raw right now. We're seeing it right now. You get little ticks up there with Flair and Hogan, but it's a systemic issue that they've built up for years and years and years and years, and there isn't some quick fix. There isn't a snap your fingers fix. They did what they thought was the snap your fingers fix on Wednesday, and it didn't. It didn't do anything. It did not help them. They got slaughtered. I don't know what that next step is. I don't know what it is. It's a completely top-down, a month-long, year-long rebuild of everything that they do in their audience. I don't think it's Hogan coming out there and saying, hey, what's up, dudes? Like, that's not going to do it.
They've got 2 courses of action here. Stay the course and keep getting beat, because you can't put on a better pure NXT show than they put on
No,
Wednesday
it fucking ruled. That show was great. Like, at Monday or Wednesday, I didn't get a chance to watch it all when we were doing the instant reaction. I went back and watched, most of it at this point. That show fucking rocked. I like that show in a pure vacuum was better than the AEW show. In a pure vacuum. That was a takeover. That was a fucking takeover with commercials.
They emptied the tank. Or they can do exactly what you said and what I said behind the payroll. That's the Undertaker's music. Here comes John Cena. Or whoever the fuck. There's Kevin Owens. Or here's Shane McMahon, who just got fired from SmackDown. Okay? It took them 22 minutes to move someone from the main roster to NXT before they knew they got their asses kicked. Okay? So we called this. We said if it was even close, if NXT was winning by slim margins, that they were going to load the deck and load up that show at main roster. Rich, they're getting killed. There's only one way to react here. Okay? If they could move Raw or SmackDown, they can't. Okay? They can't do that. I bet they wish they could. So they have to turn NXT. Okay, if you're Vince McMahon sitting in your office on Thursday, obviously what you're thinking is NXT cannot compete with this show. It just cannot. Look at the gap. We need to turn NXT into Raw and SmackDown to even have a chance. So yeah, I think you're going to see more of that. And we called it. I'm going to tell you another thing, Rich. I don't know how you feel about this. I haven't heard your opinion on this. Maybe you've heard mine, maybe you haven't. They looked minor league compared to AEW just from a production standpoint.
Oh, absolutely. We talked about it Wednesday on the Instant Reaction show. I said aesthetically, and I know Vince, I've watched a lot of Vince McMahon products. I know a lot of Vince McMahon things. If he, for a second, saw that show, looks at these ratings and goes, God damn it, look what we look like. We look like a smoky goddamn outlaw show, and that show looks like a professional show. Why do we look like that? We're out of Full Sail.
And they whip their ass.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing, too. Another thing we brought up months ago. If this isn't going well for them, they will probably find a way to get out of Full Sail. I mean, they might have to. But here's the problem. Can they draw outside of Full Sail on a weekly basis?
Big issue. I don't know. I'm not sure AEW can. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think they can.
AEW, what's important, if they keep putting on good shows, because this show was well received, okay, then I think that's going to help them draw moving forward. And they've drawn well for all of the shows that have been put on sale to varying degrees. They haven't had a bomb yet, okay? There's probably going to be a couple around the corner, but if they keep putting on good shows, they'll keep selling tickets. And if they put on good shows and they're a hot product, they'll keep selling tickets. I don't know if NXT can – I know they can't draw basketball buildings for TV right
God,
now.
no way.
That I'm confident in. But can they get into mid-sized buildings that look a little better on TV? I don't know the answer to that. And I don't know if they can draw consistent – look, they still only do their little weekend fucking tours with the A crew in small to mid-sized buildings for the house shows. They haven't really expanded on that. And it's like they've proven they can draw when they're piggybacking a pay-per-view or when they're piggybacking WrestleMania. But can they draw every week for TV? That's an issue.
Right.
And maybe that locks you in to Full Sail. And then you're going to have this problem every week where Dynamite looks like the vibrant, hip, major league show. And for the first time in decades, and I find this fascinating.
Yeah, not until 1995 has this happened.
WWE looks like the minor league product. Because it is.
Yeah.
It's their minor league they put their minor league product up against AEW, and they fucking got fed their lunch. I mean, there's no spin. No one's even attempting spin because there is none. They got murdered. And it's going to be interesting. I don't know what else they can do. They've emptied the tank. I think they really felt confident that they were going to wipe the floor with AEW with that lineup and with the surprises they had planned and with all of the advantages.
Well, and just that they're WWE and this is a new startup company. We're fucking WWE. Of course the fans are going to watch us.
And that whole idea that's been reported that WWE was kind of snickering and laughing at AEW for advertising what some of the TV matches are going to be in the various cities, which you have to do to sell tickets, by the way. I don't have any problem with that. But WWE was snickering and laughing behind their back, saying, "Oh, well, they're giving away. They're making it easy for us to counter program," because they're still in the 20-year ago mindset. So they're going to have to adjust too. You know what I mean? It's like they think they were ahead of the game with all these strategic moves they made, and I'm sure they were sitting there curling their mustaches thinking that they were going to have a big win, and they totally got humbled. And here's the other thing too is this is shockwaves for the whole industry now. It's not just going to affect what they do at NXT, it's going to affect what they do on Raw and SmackDown as well. And Rich, like we said months ago, and like most of our listeners already understand, this is all only going to be good for you, the wrestling fan. The best thing that could have happened for you, wrestling fan, who listens to this goofy show, and for the people who pay us to listen to more of us behind the paywall, was AEW kicking their ass. That's the best thing ever that could have happened to you. It's only going to motivate WWE. It's only going to make other television stations take note that wrestling could be hot again, and that WWE isn't the be-all, end-all when it comes to wrestling. It's going to raise the water level for everyone. And the war itself was going to do that, but AEW dominating like this out of the gate was the best thing that could have happened to fans, wrestling promotions, the indies. Rich, our subscriptions are up like fucking 35%.
Yeah, it's something ridiculous. And we're not alone too. I know other websites that run, premium content and everybody's up. Everybody is consuming wrestling coverage more than they've done in years. So yeah, I love the war. Somebody said we are the Dick Cheneys right now. We're like, you know what? War is good. War is very, very good as long as we were able to, make money off of it. So.
We were just told that the most watched stream in independent wrestling TV history was the debut of Uncharted Territory.
Yeah, which is not I would have never in a million years thought that, but people just fucking want wrestling. It's great. It's awesome.
It's helping everyone. And that was the best news ever that AEW put a beating on it. It's only going to motivate WWE, and we know that they have the tools and the capacity to improve their product across the board. Putting the NXT UK tag team titles on Gallus is not a good start.
I was going to say the first shot across the bow was Gallus. So I don't know.
God, I've never been happier to not be reviewing something for a while because I still don't know how those reviews are going to shake out. But more Gallus, what is the addiction to Gallus?
I don't know.
What is? Jeez. Spoiler alert. This was
nobody fucking cares. Nobody cares. Jesus.
But fuck, man.
You're literally the only person in the world that watches NXT UK, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. But yeah,
Trevor, the Irish wrestling fan, watches that.
That's true. Okay. So two people.
We talk about it all the time. So why don't you take that? Okay.
Very defensive about your NXT UK. I'm sorry.
Well, you're the one missing out. There's some good action.
I watch it every so often. It's just boring as all fucking sin. There's just the episodes end. I watch them and then I don't know how to react to them because I don't know how you did audio on them. There are shows that when they're over, I'm just like, all right, that was NXT UK. All right, cool.
It's you just got to do the audio.
Yeah, there's good matches, but I don't know. To have a take about a lot of the matches that happen, man, is it's remarkable. You are indeed a godlike figure for having takes on NXT UK on a weekly basis.
I feel like Ron Washington in Scott Hatterberg's living room. It's incredibly hard.
Right.
I don't know how I talk about Moneyball was on the other day, and it stops me in my tracks every time.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, great movie.
It's like it's one of those movies you're flipping through, and it's like people don't flip through channels; they flip through the guide. Like that's the thing. Like you it's like no one like physically flips through each channel. That's something that, but you do scan through the guide, right? Like everybody does.
Oh yeah,
that.
4 at a time too. I do. I don't know if your TV does that.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I can go 4 channels at a time, and I'm boom, 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 just scanning up and down, left and right. Yeah, it's important.
And I'm like, Moneyball, 48 minutes left. I'm in.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, hey.
Moneyball gets watched every time.
I can't tell you how happy, because I love Moneyball book, of course. You know me. Anybody listening to this knows how much that completely changed my life and my sports viewing and all that sort of stuff. But knowing that when that movie came out and I watched it the minute, and I don't watch any movies. I see 0 movies. I went to opening day of that. I think I had a class that day. I was in college and I was like, fuck it, not going to class that day. I want to be here at 10 a.m. to watch Moneyball, the first person to watch. And I watched it and I left the theater and I went, they fucking nailed it, man. That's it's like as good or if not better than the book. And I'm like, how did that happen? I was so worried. It's like it's a baseball movie, it's a sports movie, it's kind of a nuanced book, and they fucking nailed it. I couldn't believe it.
And it's got Brad Pitt.
Yeah, so he's dreamy and good, and it's
and it's like, but they fucking nailed it. And I don't know about you, but like I will pause Moneyball and then go to Baseball Reference to make sure they got shit right. And they nailed everything. You know the scene in Moneyball where they're showing Oakland's going for 20 in a row, and they get out to like the 11-0 lead or whatever. Yeah. And then Kansas City starts coming back, right? And they go through the whole montage of Kansas City coming back. They were accurate right down to the players that were scoring the runs. I've cross-checked it, Rich, against the actual
it
boxer.
Is actually Angel Baroa crossing that plate or whatever. It's great.
Yes. They fucking nailed every detail. They even casted actors that reasonably looked like some of these obscure players that were on other teams. I mean, that's how good Moneyball is. I will always dork out for that movie. It will always stop me in my tracks. I fucking love Moneyball. That's what Moneyball and Goodfellas, I can watch the movie, Rich, and spit out every line before they do. The whole fucking 2 hours. I can quote the entire film. I love the Moneyball, but anyway.
The only downside of Moneyball is I do have a lot of friends that like don't follow like baseball stats or whatever, and they're just like, yeah, those stats. I mean, Oakland was good, but what nobody does these stats anymore, and Oakland never won anything. And I'm just like, oh god, like, I don't have to explain to them the last 15 years of baseball, but I'm like, yeah. Like, all right.
You're in the playoffs again. I mean, it's a crapshoot.
But like, I also want to tell them like, I mean, the Astros and the Cubs and
the other teams are doing
Boston Red Sox, and literally every team is ran by an NBA now. But yeah, I guess you're right.
It's funny how too the teams that are doing it that have money are all winning World Series. Right. So it's when you can. That's Oakland's issue and always has been, as we do Voices of Baseball here.
Absolutely.
I mean, Bean is just squeezing everything he can get out of the fucking hand that he's dealt, and it's, I hate that narrative. Oh, well, they haven't won anything.
Yeah, they make the playoffs every year, spending $40 million on the roster.
What about these divisions they win? And these,
I'm with you, man. Hey.
That's winning something, but that's the sport fan mindset that I despise.
Oh, the rings are nothing? Yeah, rings are I hate it. I hate it.
Unless you've won a ring, you're a failure, and I cannot stand that. And I really think it's an abusive way to approach sports.
It sucks. It's miserable. What a miserable existence.
Misery. If you approach sports in a rings or bust mindset, okay, you are only setting yourself up for depression and misery, because there are certain franchises that are never going to win a championship in your lifetime, and you may happen to be rooting for one of them. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the small successes. Enjoy it. That is the healthiest way. And I'm a huge sports fan, and so are you. But to me, that's the healthiest way to approach sports. The Rams lost the Super Bowl last year. Do I think that season was a failure? No, I enjoyed the fuck out of it. It was a great, enjoyable ride, especially after losing for 10 years in a row. To get back to the Super Bowl, you got to enjoy those things. Rings or bust. If your most miserable sports fans are the rings or bust sports fan, and they do it to themselves.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you there.
How about that?
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to talk about it more for another 25 minutes with you. But I suppose that's another show. So maybe we'll do a Patreon thing where Joe and Rich rant on Rings or Nothing culture, because I think it fucking sucks. I hate it. And I've always said, if you want to root for the playoffs, and we always on the Over and Back Classic NBA podcast, overbacknba.com, by the way, if you want to listen to that. We always say what we use for a lot of teams is if they made the conference finals. Because I think in the NBA, making the NBA finals is, especially in the NBA, incredibly difficult. You're not going to make the NBA finals, and in most years, you're not going to win the NBA championship. The team that's the best team in the league is going to win the NBA championship. That's just going to happen. But making that's a big deal. Your team should be very happy you made the conference finals. That's a huge, great season, and that's a great ride. And I always liken it too. The 90s Indians. If your existence in the 90s Indians is, oh, fuck, we didn't win a World Series. When you had the most fun team in the goddamn universe, or the 90s Seattle Mariners. That team was incredible.
Yeah.
You had A-Rod and Randy Johnson and Ken Griffey Jr. and Jay Buhner and Edgar Martinez. If you come away with that saying, we didn't win a ring, then you're just a miserable sports fan. Or if you're an Indians fan in the 90s, and I get it, they're long-suffering, I get it. But man, those teams were fun. You had Manny and Roberto Alomar and fucking, God, it was so great. And Albert Bell roared out of his mind and freaking out at everybody, and Jin Tomei and all that sort of awesome stuff, man.
Yeah. It's, my thing every year, the way I approach sports is if my team makes the postseason, I view it as a success. And if anything else is gravy, the farther you go, the better. Now, listen, if you win 140 games in baseball and you get knocked out in the first round, I'm not saying you shouldn't be disappointed. Okay. But, it's this whole attitude of, they won nothing. They're a bunch of bums. I mean, look, you didn't enjoy the previous 6 months. You know what I mean? It's it's such a self-defeating attitude. You're setting yourself up for misery, and I just shake my head. It's enjoy the ride, and you get a couple championships. Treat it like it might be the last one you'll ever see. I saw the Reds win a World Series. I'd like to see another one, but I saw one. I saw the Rams win a Super Bowl. I've lost 2 since. I'm not hanging a noose in my garage. I saw one. I don't know. We should probably get back to wrestling.
We probably should get to wrestling. I was going to say, well, it's the same thing we say where people say they deserve a title, reign. It's like, deserve, it doesn't make you less if you own a title reign. That's my last little segue to get into wrestling there. But anyway, we got plenty of other stuff to get to, Joe. But before we do that, we do want to let you know this episode of the Voice Wrestling Flagship Podcast is sponsored by our friends at ZipRecruiter. And Joe, hiring can be a slow process. Here's an example that ZipRecruiter gave us. Cafe Altura CEO Dylan Miskovitz needed to hire a director of coffee for his organic coffee company, but he was having trouble finding qualified candidates. We all run into that. Then he switched to ZipRecruiter. And ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its technology identifies people with the right experience and invites them to apply for your job. So you get qualified candidates fast. Dylan posted his job on ZipRecruiter and said he was impressed by how quickly he had great candidates apply. He also used ZipRecruiter's candidate rating feature to filter his applicants so he could focus on the most relevant ones. And that, the success story here, Dylan found his new coffee, and that's how the success story here. Dylan found his new director of coffee in just a few days. And with Joe, with results like that, it's no wonder that 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See why ZipRecruiter is effective for businesses of all sizes. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/VOW. That's ZipRecruiter.com/VOW. One more time, ZipRecruiter.com/VOW. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. All right, so we got
let's do this.
Yeah, okay.
Let's blow through Hell in a Cell because it's we only know about 3 matches.
Right. So we are refreshing SmackDown on Fox has ended, and I asked you, Joe, when the show was over, because you had watched more of the show, I said, Joe, what did they announce for Hell in a Cell? And you said, I don't know, I'm not sure. I refreshed, I looked, I scanned Twitter. As far as I know, as of this recording, 10:51 p.m. on Friday, we have 3 matches for Hell in a Cell.
All right. I mean,
if they're not going to put no effort into it, then we're not going to put any effort into it. So,
and we'll quickly go through because we want to get to some other topics.
Because who gives a shit? So,
we have Seth Rollins. Okay, we got Seth Rollins.
They don't give a shit. They don't care. Why are they telling you we don't care?
WWE enthusiasm. Seth Rollins defends against the Fiend in the Hell. I think we've talked about this. I think we both agree that the Fiend should win this match, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we've got Becky Lynch defending against Sasha Banks in the women's championship Hell in a Cell match. So I don't have a good feel for this. I don't think it matters who wins the match. I think they've done a really good job. Look, Raw's been hit or miss, with the Paul Heyman influence, where a lot of the stuff that's good has his fingerprints on it, and a lot of the stuff that's bad has his fingerprints on it. The thing with Heyman is throughout the years, he's had a lot of bad ideas too. Okay, and he's a guy who will take chances. But one facet of Raw, I think, is where I think they've done a good job with Sasha Banks. So she's in the title match here against Becky Lynch in the Hell in a Cell. You have any thoughts on this? Or
not really. I mean, the thing is, like, initially I would probably say, hey, this would be a great spot for Sasha to win the title from Becky. But do you want Rollins and Becky to both lose the titles in the same night? Like, I don't know if that really matters to them all that much. But if it were to me, I would probably move it over to Banks. But I don't know. You could do it one of two ways. I mean, their first match kind of was a schmaz finish or whatever. I feel like you can't just have Becky go in there and beat Sasha, though. With all the momentum Sasha's been given and everything that she's done, like it kind of feels like she'd get punked out in a Hell in a Cell if she just lost to Becky. So I'd imagine Sasha wins, but then at the same time, I think Bray has to kind of win too. So I don't know. I doubt that they would have both of them lose on the same night, but maybe they do. I mean, hey, it is what it is.
I kind of like Sasha as a Naito-like figure where you just torture the fan base until the moment is absolutely right.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that too, because it does seem in some way a little early as well. Like, I don't know, like, I wouldn't have booked their title match to happen even last month. I would have let it simmer a little bit and have her just feel like she's ready and feel like she's ready and feel like she's ready and feel like she's ready. And then when you're, like you say, when you're ready, you blow it off. But now we're already 2 matches deep into this feud. How many more matches do you have with these guys? Like, are they just going to fight each other for the next 5 months and then Sasha finally wins it, in the 6th month? That's not good, is it? Like, is that really what people want? Like, I feel like there's this weird period there where if they fight each other for so many months and Sasha doesn't win, that you actually get those diminishing returns on it.
I think if I'm running things, I see the Sasha Banks fan base as such a passionate one that I can milk a lot of money out of them. And I just think that I would book her in such a way where I torture that fan base until you're right at the cusp of running them off, and then you take care of her. I think that's how I would handle it. That's old school. New school is everyone gets a turn, put the title on. I don't know. Right. I would do that. And then Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns versus the villainous Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, who came out of nowhere a couple weeks ago to help him in that one. That's all we got, man. They haven't really, as we record this, we've got nothing else. We tried. And we're going to move on. We got to do some New Japan. They had the Fighting Spirit Unleashed 3-city tour, 3 sold-out shows.
Those happened 9 years ago, Joe. There's no way that's the same weekend. There's no way that was less than 7 days ago. It's impossible.
I promise you, it was this past weekend. Will not lie to you, pal. So I don't even know if the Boston area and Philly shows are up on New Japan World yet. I haven't checked.
As far as I know, they are not up. Let me check if that has changed. I haven't seen anybody say anything about it, so I don't think that has changed. I believe they're still not up there. So
that means I'll never watch them. That's number one. But I did watch the New York show. Did you watch the Hammerstein show?
I saw most of it. Not all of it, but most of it I was able to watch. So there was some spots that I still missed and some things, but I was able to watch most of it and at least get an idea what they were going for on that show. So
I don't think it's a show that demands a match-by-match thorough breakdown. It was a fun show. It was an enjoyable show. I think it was more newsworthy for what happened outside the ring than what happened in the ring. By now, we're not going to give you any new information on Ambulance Gate. I know when Rich loves when I attach gate to a random word. But we had Ambulance Gate, and, they had the whole drama with the ambulance that most of you have heard about by now. Somebody called the ambulance company, supposedly, and said that the show was off, so there's some chicanery going on there. But the fact of the matter is the show started 90 minutes late, but we know because we had people texting us that they had ambulances there well before that 90 minutes, but the commission was still being hard asses about it. We later found out that they were fire department ambulances, which the commission was not accepting because if there was a fire, then the ambulance would have to leave. Just a disaster. So when they finally got the proper ambulances in place, there was like 4 ambulances at the building, and they finally allowed them to start the show. We were also told that there was other minor paperwork issues and things, which also held it up. But at any rate, the show finally started 90 minutes late, And they ended up putting on the working shoes were on. I don't know if that's because they felt like, they needed to make up for it, or whether, they just wanted to put on a good show because that's their job. But the working shoes were certainly on. And while this didn't have any notebook material, I thought this was just a fun as fuck show. I sat there and watched it live, and I enjoyed the hell out of myself. So I thought it was really good. I thought the Young Lions match, the TJ Perkins match against who did he wrestle? Was it
Perkins was against Narita?
Narita.
Yeah.
I thought that was a lot of fun. Perkins worked heel, and he's found his calling. He spent his whole career working his babyface, and that guy is a tremendous heel, and it helps that most people don't like him.
And his real personality is probably more of the heel than a face, so it's good.
But even his as just a pure pro wrestling heel, I mean, he killed it. I thought it was a super enjoyable match where it was just what I thought it would be, where he gave Narita just enough, and those guys had good chemistry, and then Lance Archer and Carl Fredericks, I thought, another super fun match. Archer immediately went after Fredericks' taped up shoulder, and Archer super over with this crowd. Rich, they need to push this guy or what? I mean, it's gotten to the point where are you in danger of losing his momentum coming off of the G1 if you don't do something with him? I mean, there's something there.
Yeah, it's bubbling. It's definitely bubbling, and I'm seeing it even amongst casual fans and just people on Twitter and all this stuff, that Lance Archer's coming out and he's having matches and people are they're loving it. They're absolutely loving him. And I think, there's a lot of momentum stemming from the G1. He had an awesome G1. People that weren't fans of Archer are now kind of opening their eyes and seeing it. I mean, this is probably the time to strike. I don't know what the strike is. I mentioned a few months ago that, maybe a never open weight run, something like that. Maybe get him in the IC mix, something like that. I'm not saying push him all the way to the moon and have him get in, IWGP title shots or whatever, but I think you can't just I don't know. I feel like it would be a real big waste if he's just like a dude on the roster doing stuff. Like, I think he's got to get in the title picture of something, be in the mix for something. I don't know if he's got to win those titles and have long runs, but you got to do something now. It's now or never with him. Like, if you don't do something in these next few months, then they probably never are going to do anything with him. But now is definitely the time. His stock has never been higher than it is right now. So I would hope they do something, and he's earned it. He absolutely has earned it.
And I think they probably had their top line plans in place already, so it might be too late to get things geared up for like a Wrestle Kingdom. And it's like, that might be too late, because if I'm WWE or if I'm AEW, and they're paying attention, or if I'm fucking whoever, I'm putting out feelers for this guy. I legitimately think, and we've talked about this, that he might be the best big man in wrestling right now in terms of how he presents himself. His work is just, I am stunned how he's probably the best he's ever been post back surgery at 42. I mean, he's like 42 or 43.
Yeah, that's stupid that he's 42 years old. I always forget that. And then I see him do something crazy. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. And I'm like, oh, wait, yeah, this guy's in his 40s. I just had like a major back surgery where he barely could walk for months. Like, that is, it's something
he
else.
didn't know if he was going to ever wrestle again. I mean, and he was born in either 76 or 77. So he's like 42 or 43. And he's doing the best work of his life. And the best character work, it's all coming together for him right now. Which is even more reason to pull the trigger now when the fans are recognizing it as well. If I'm another company, I'm putting out feelers and trying to sign this guy. So it might be too late for them to do something with him, but he looked good here. And then there's a bunch of tags. I think the only one that really warrants any discussion is Hiroshi Tanahashi teaming with the Rock and Roll Express. Did you watch that match?
I did, yeah. I had to watch that one, and that was pretty awesome. I mean, just for the moment. They didn't have to do anything in the ring. They just had to be themselves and be fucking Tanahashi teaming with Rock and Roll Express. But I liked it. It was pretty good. It was sneaky good.
You know what? They didn't have to do anything, but Ricky Morton's doing topes anyway.
Exactly, right? Ricky Morton fucking rocks, dude. What? I mean, like, his year, he's had a legitimately good in-ring year. Like, and I'm not even ironically, like, he's having great matches.
Rich, he sold it. They did the heat segment in this match.
I know.
Bushi's choking him out with the t-shirt, and he's fucking selling and reaching up. And I feel like I'm watching a match from 1986 at fucking Technic Live Studios. It's now listen. There's nothing there with Gibson, okay? But listen, That's not a complaint. He's 62 years old. I don't.
Right. And has led quite the life as well. Yeah, he's 62 in actual years, but yeah, much older in lived years.
And they're throwing the triple drop kick, and Gibson's getting 6 inches off the ground, and Morton's not getting, he's not throwing Okada drop kicks either. And Tanahashi, he's got the tassels around his fucking boots. If this match didn't put a smile on your face, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, I mean, you're joyless. And like you're saying, Ricky Morton can legitimately still go. Is he one of the best wrestlers in the world? Pump the brakes. Okay.
Yeah, no.
But can he still go at a respectable major league level? He can. It reminds me of when Ricky Steamboat. Remember the Steamboat comeback when he was in his late 50s on he wrestled a handful of matches in WWE.
Yeah, he did the match with Jericho at Mania or whatever. It was everybody, but Steamboat was the one that really stood out. Yeah.
And then off of that match, they gave him a couple other singles matches or whatever until he had more health issues. But people went a little overboard and were saying it, oh my God. But he was a respectable major league wrestler. And that's kind of what Ricky Morton is now. And it's like I listened to Jim Cornette's podcast today because I wanted to hear him review the AEW show. And he talked a little bit about the NWA taping that we're going to talk about later. And, he's just saying, like, it's remarkable. And he noted that the Rock and Roll Express, they're getting, like, the biggest payoffs, like, of their lives right now, just because of inflation. You know what I mean? And, like, they're a hot act and, they're making a lot. Good for them. They're in their 60s. Everybody loves them. They seem like solid dudes. And they're making these tremendous payoffs to work, NWA shows, New Japan shows, Black Label Pro books them or was booking them all the time. And this is just, and this match was a shit ton of fun. How about Ricky Morton in there getting his ass kicked by Shingo? I mean, and just taking it.
In what scenario? Imagine fucking Shingo taking Ricky Morton's head off. Like, what world? That is definitely a Fire Pro where you're like, oh, fuck, sweet. Rock and Roll versus Shingo and somebody, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you would have hit random and been like, Ricky Morton and Shingo. That'll be interesting to see what happens. But it happened in real life.
Shingo beating down Ricky Morton in Hammerstein on a New Japan show.
Yeah, what the fuck?
So if you tell me, if you just take any other combination of two wrestlers building and promotion and say that it's going to happen next year, how can I say I don't believe you? What would you have said if I told you that last year? That we're going to have that scenario play out? I mean, it's just crazy talk. It's random button all the way. And then they did the whole thing for Tiger Hattori, which was great. He had his family come in, that little fucking grandchild or whatever, cute as hell. And all that shit. Did you watch the ceremony for Tiger?
Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to. I was going to, and then it ended up like the whole weekend just sort of happened. So I unfortunately missed it. And I was kind of pissed because I really did want to check that out. But I heard really good things.
Yeah, it was like a 2-year-old grandkid high-fiving Ricky Morton. It's just a great scene. And Tanahashi in there, and so that whole thing was fucking awesome. And then at the NWA taping, Morton and Gibson were wearing the Tiger Hattori, farewell T-shirt and everything. So, and then there was, I don't know if you saw that footage of Jado's birthday celebration at the bar with, the Rock and Roll Express and Tama Tonga and all them. So it seemed like a real fun weekend for New Japan. And, man, I mean, it's weird. It's almost like it wouldn't be the worst thing to use them again. Like, at least in the United States, right? The Rock and Roll Express. I mean, why not? I mean, it clearly came across well. Same of the reports in the other buildings. But so what was the business end of this? Okay, so we had Kenta versus Yoshi-Hashi for the Never title. Did you watch this?
I did watch this match, yes.
Okay, so my opinion on this match is that this was Kenta's best overall performance in New Japan to date because this man came down to the ring, was getting cheered by that crowd, and made a conscious decision that he was not going to be cheered in this match. And this was one of the best performances by a pro wrestler in terms of controlling a crowd that I have seen in a long time. He turned that crowd against him. And he did it by using every veteran trick in the book. Stalling, facial expressions, just every little trick. And he got that crowd to turn against him, a crowd that very badly wanted to cheer him at the start of that match. And I thought his work was good. And I'm not saying that this was like a 4-star match, because I don't think it was. But did I enjoy the fuck out of his performance? And did he impress the hell out of me, especially coming off that concussion? And was this a masterclass performance in crowd control? Absolutely. I mean, Rich, you know how many wrestlers would have just basked in that crowd reaction and gone against what you're supposed to do as a pro wrestler and just enjoyed the adulation and worked it that way. He did not do that. He worked his ass off to get the intended reaction, and he got it. That is what pro wrestling is. Getting the intended reaction out of the fans and telling the story you're trying to tell. He could have easily eaten up Yoshi-Hashi and gotten all the cheers, and it would have been all wrong for the story they were telling. And he did not do that. I was so impressed by that. Yoshi-Hashi, he is what he is. And I think that, they did the run-in, and they had Tiger Hattori thwart it, which was smart, because they got another pop for Tiger. And then none of that. And then Kenta ended up winning clean anyway. He tried for the interference because he's a heel and he's a shitbag. He didn't get it. And then he still beat the jabron. So even from that perspective, I thought it was well booked, because he didn't need the help to beat Yoshi-Hashi. He didn't get the help, and then he beat the guy anyway. But at the first sign of a Yoshi-Hashi comeback, because he's a heel, he called for backup. Do I like the Bullet Club stuff? I don't. Do I think they told a good story here? And do I think Kenta was incredible? I do. What'd you think of the match?
So I think I liked it a lot less than you did, because I thought it was pretty boring. I really was not into this match, really at all. I won't disagree with you in the sense that Kenta came out and it got cheered and then was able to get the crowd to start booing him. The issue I have with that is, as you were saying, Kenta used all the oldest trick in the book. He stalled, he did this, he did that, he did all this sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, all I think he did is made the match way more boring. And I don't know if I want to throw roses at a guy for getting heel heat by making a match boring as fuck. And that's where I'm at with this match. 25 minutes of, really 15 minutes of Kenta stalling and being an old school classic heel or whatever you want to say, which is fine. It's whatever. It's good. He got the crowd to boo him, but he got the crowd to boo him by having an actively bad match. And match where he was stalling and doing bullshit and getting out of the ring and just trying to do all this sort of stuff that really, I don't know, it just didn't click with me. And now here's where I'll say that I'm not going to blame Kenta 100% for that. Because Kenta was doing what he thought to do to get the crowd to turn on him. The issue that I had, though, is that the crowd booed Kenta, but I don't know if any of that heat got translated over to Yoshi-Hashi. And I don't know if that's a Kenta problem. I don't know if that's a Yoshi-Hashi problem. I don't know what that is. But that was the issue I had is, the crowd dislikes Kenta now, but it felt like they just disliked the match and just wanted it to end. They weren't rooting for Yoshi-Hashi. There was your 10 fans that were going, Yoshi-Hashi, but no, nobody gave a shit about those guys.
Nobody gave a shit about Yoshi-Hashi.
And that's where I'm like, do I really call it a masterful performance? I don't know if in good conscience I can. And again, that's not because of Kenta. I want to state that again. I think he did whatever he was going to do. I think he did a good job of getting the crowd to turn against him in having, being boring and getting outside of the ring and doing all that sort of bullshit and all that sort of stuff, which is fine. It's good. But you need that other guy to then transfer that heat. The heat needs to get transferred to the other guy, and it didn't. So all that happened is we had a match where the crowd actively seemed like they were just disliking that the match kept continuing and just wanted it to end. And I don't know if I can call that a great performance.
I'll defend it in this way. I don't think there's a wrestler on earth that can get anyone to cheer Yoshi-Hashi.
And that might be the biggest issue. You know what I mean? That's it. I don't know. That's where the caveat will come is while I do think that Kenta did a great job in this, the fact that Yoshi got nothing out of it, I don't know if that means that Kenta had his greatest performance ever. But that could also be that Yoshi-Hashi is just fucking Yoshi-Hashi, and nobody's going to be able to do it.
Hold on now. Let's not misrepresent JL. I said it was his best performance in New Japan to date.
No. Sorry. I didn't mean to.
Let's pump the brakes here. He said in that building, he wrestled Nigel McGuinness in a match that I will never forget for the rest of my life. I watched that match live, and I think it was one of the best ROH World Title matches ever, where Kenta just punished Nigel McGuinness's arm for 25 minutes. Did you see that match or no? Do you remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's incredible.
God, did I love that match.
I have a whole ROH. I have a whole Kenta in ROH DVD that I watch every so often. That's just fucking great. It's just nonstop Kenta matches in Ring of Honor. And he had a great run in Ring of Honor. So yeah, for sure.
And again, like I said at the top, I'm not saying this was a great match. That's the thing. Specifically with his performance, with his determination to get over as a heel, which he did, because they were booing him. They just weren't cheering for Yoshi-Hashi.
Right.
Forget it. If he could have got that to happen, because these New York fans had no interest in Yoshi-Hashi. And we've seen this in America with Yoshi-Hashi. He wrestled Kenny Omega. Weren't you there live?
I was there live, yes. Yeah.
You're not getting. No one in America gives a fuck about.
They need to stop that. I don't know where they got this idea that this is a viable opponent for Kenta in America. No.
If this match were in Cork and Hall, I think people would have been cheering for Yoshi-Hashi. But it was in USA. People in America do not care about this man. Okay, especially now. In Dallas, he was so bad. I mean, live, he was so bad. Like, he just doesn't have the oomph that everyone else on the roster has, especially when you see him live. It's glaring that he is so behind everybody else on the roster. Every young lion in that company is already better than Yoshi-Hashi. And I could say that with confidence. He doesn't lay it in. He doesn't look like he's trying very hard half the time. There's one advantage to Yoshi-Hashi. He's a pretty good hot tag. Right? I think we could say that about
Is he, though? I mean, we talked about that match last week where Ishii sold his ass off for 20 minutes, tagged at Yoshi, and Yoshi missed a fucking super kick by about 10 feet, and it was like, oh, all right, cool.
Yeah, he was bad in that match. Right. He was bad in that match. I think historically he's been
fine, yes. Yeah, but
I mean, he's having a horrible year, and, that tag match was one of them. But, I mean, I'm putting over the match as some kind of classic. Do I want to ever revisit this Kenta versus Yoshi-Hashi match? I don't. But what I saw was a wrestler actively taking a match by the throat and making it what he was instructed to make it out to be.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, if you want to talk about controlling, like, this might be the most, when you talk about performance, the most controlling pro wrestling performance I've ever seen, where Kenta just said, okay, you're doing this thing and I don't want you to do this. I'm going to want you to do this. And I, like, that entire match, 1,000% was about Kenta. Kenta was everything in that match. Yoshi-Hashi may as well not have been there. You know what I mean? Like, Kenta almost was wrestling with himself and wrestling with the crowd. And like, it was like, when you say that, like, in terms of maybe the end result isn't something that's any great shakes, but in terms of like putting this match on his back and just saying, no, I am going to make this match what we want it to be. Just follow me and don't do anything. It was that. It was definitely 100% a Kenta match.
That's what I said. That's what I said in the open. I even said, look, this wasn't any kind of great match. I'm just saying this was a great fucking. This to me was maybe great is the word throwing people. To me, it was a fascinating performance by this man. And I thought bell to bell he was very good because we've talked about it. He's been a little hit or miss bell to bell too. You can count on one or two awkward spots in a Kenta match in the G1. There was none of that here. And I think he knew I cannot get cheered in this match because I'm doing a run-in later. And the ref has to get the pop. So I have to alter the course of this crowd. I have to. And maybe a 6-year veteran wouldn't have done that. And there's probably a ton of 20-year veterans who just would have ate up the crowd response. But he knew that the whole match was peaking with Tiger Hattori chasing off Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. And it would have made no sense to work that match as a babyface and kick the shit out of that guy and give you know what the fans wanted? They wanted Kenta to kick the living shit out of Yoshi-Hashi. But if you do that and you give that to them, they're going to blow the roof off for you. And then you're killing Hattori's spot later. So that's what I'm talking about here when I talk about how fascinated I was with his performance. I just thought it was brilliant pro wrestling on his part to change the course of that crowd and get the desired reaction. And then we had the 6-man main event, which I thought was, it was fine. It was okay. It's like, it was an enjoyable, crowd-pleasing main event for that crowd. And let me tell you something about that crowd.
Was this one the straight tag? I think this was just I think this was Evil and Sonata and Okada Ibushi, if I'm correct, right?
No. LIJ faced Rock and Roll Express and Tanahashi on this show.
Yeah, but was that the main, or was it the Evil and Sonata?
No. The Rock and Roll Express match was a mid-card match.
Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. Pull up the show, you'll see.
Yeah, no, the main event, though, was Evil and Sonata, Okada, and Ibushi.
The main event was Okada, Ibushi. Was it a 6-man tag?
No, it was a tag. I'm saying it's a straight tag. I just didn't want people to get mad. It was Okada and Ibushi versus Evil and Sonata.
They did an elimination match.
That was the next day.
The next night. This was the tag. There's just a straight tag.
Straight tag. Yeah, I know. The weekend got a little confused, and obviously a lot has happened in wrestling since then. But just to clarify,
No. It was Tanahashi and the Rock and Roll Express versus the other LIJ guys. It was Bushi, Shingo, and who am I missing? And Naito.
Yeah.
I forgot Naito. And then, yes, this was the straight tag because the 12-man elimination or whatever was in Philly. And I don't remember what the Boston main event was. But
the Boston main event was, the Boston main event was Okada, Tanahashi, and Ibushi. That was a 6-man versus Naito, Evil, and Sonata.
Right. Okay, so we got that all straightened out. But it was a nice little enjoyable match. But to me, what I'll remember from this show is, the Rock Roll Express, obviously, and the Tiger stuff in both that match and the Kenta match, and then all of the drama. So that was that in terms of, no English commentary. That was really weird.
Very weird. Yeah, we got to talk about that. That is strange.
And the production was weird. It wasn't their usual higher level production. All right, so how do we do this? So we know why there was no English commentary. Has anyone else reported this? Because we were told off record and we can't talk about it.
Don't think so. I don't think anyone
else reports to them. We still can't talk about it. If someone else lets the cat out of the bag, we can confirm or deny. But let me just put it this way. Rich can chop it out if I go too far, but I think I'm pretty good at this. The plan was to have English commentary. And that shouldn't be breaking news, because if you just use your noodle, if you use your brain here, okay, the show got added to the New Japan World schedule very late in the game. It wasn't on the New Japan World schedule, and then it sort of just appeared a couple days before the show. That's a tip-off that something went awry. Okay, is that fair to say, Rich?
For sure. Oh, yeah.
And I'm not burning a source here or anything. I haven't given away anything that I'm not supposed to give away.
No, I'm looking at it right now to ensure that you don't. And I'll tell you when you've said too much. So, yeah.
I don't think that I will.
You're good. So,
plan was to have commentary. Something went awry that we're not allowed, that we were told off the record. Okay, and we're not trying to cock tease people. I mean, you just have to understand. And on one hand, you can say that's not us necessarily letting New Japan off the hook, because at the end of the day, it is their fault. They didn't have a contingency plan, and they may have waited around too long for their original plan to come into play. Is that fair to say? That
is fair. Yeah, absolutely. They too late to kind of make adjustments, and just too late they waited too long for the one thing to happen, and it didn't happen, and then the adjustments, they didn't have enough time to make the adjustments. So.
Right, and then they didn't, and then as a result, they did not have English commentary when they had full intentions of doing so, and it just did not work out. So that's that. And again, that's not us trying to let them off the hook. They waited around too long for something to fall into place that didn't. They threw the show on their streaming service at the last minute, and it was logistically, it was just too late to get people to the building so that's why. That explains that. I don't think I've seen anybody talk about that, but that is the explanation without giving away the key part of, unfortunately, listen, if someone says, look, I'll tell you, but you can't talk about it, what do you want me to do? I can't come on here and fuck that person. We can't do that. Okay. In all honesty, most people probably wouldn't even give you this much. I mean, we're trying here. Okay, but I can't give you the final. And I'm sure there's other reporters who were told the same thing and just left it alone. So we're trying here to at least give you a little something. Rich, you don't have to cut any of that out, right?
That's all good. Very good. Yeah, good job of dancing around the subject there. But yeah, essentially, like, if you watch the show, I mean, there was no hard cam. The cameras looked less than they usually do. The lighting looked less than they usually did. It looked like a live event that they just so happened to get a bunch of cameras to at the last minute. And that's kind of what happened, sort of, in a way. So, yeah, no hard cam. Dubbed over, if you watched it too and you were wondering, man, this mix sounds terrible, it's because they recorded it in Japan and dubbed over the audio. They were getting a feed from the building and then putting, two guys in a studio talking about it in commentary. So that's why, the guys in the commentators sound like they're in a room because they're in a fucking room. They're not in the arena. Yeah,
it was remote commentary. It was an emergency last-minute thing. It was Milano, Yano, and whoever the regular play-by-play guy, whoever, I don't know his name. But they showed them on camera several times. You didn't watch. See, I watched it live, and I watched that interminable 90 minutes of banter between Toru Yano, Milano and the other guy. So it's like, Yeah, they were sitting in a fucking studio somewhere, and even that was put together at the last minute.
Yeah, absolutely. And the audio was a little mixed weird because they have to keep, the commentators loud. When they're in the building, it's a lot easier to sort of say, okay, here's where your levels need to be, here's where these levels need to be, yada, yada, yada. But instead, the problem was, and that's like, people that are watching the show are like, Jesus, this crowd seems like, and we heard the crowd was hot. Like, people that were there saying, oh, yeah, the crowd was hot, but they didn't sound very hot because you had the mix of the audio from the commentary way higher than you would have had the mix of the arena in the building. So there was some issues there. So technically, it was not good. When it was all done, like, I'm glad we saw it. I'm glad we got it. But it's like, given all the issues that came up, it's almost like, man, if you weren't going to put your best foot forward there, then maybe it wasn't even worth it at all, kind of doing a last-minute deal. Not that I hated it, not that I disliked it. I'm glad I saw the show, but I could see that being, if people stumbled upon New Japan World, watch this, would go, what the hell is this? Like, it wasn't their best effort that they've done. And it's not all their fault, obviously, but yeah, it aesthetically, it just didn't match up with what they've done elsewhere. I would have liked if they just did the no fucking commentary thing, too. It would have been nice, but I guess the commentary was fine for people listening. And we heard from other people too that, and this is a big deal too, that it even happened in April when New Japan ran New York, is that in Japan, it's a big deal to run in New York for your show. So while we American fans are going, what the fuck? Why is there no American commentary? They're sending commentary to Japan in Japanese, and those people are enjoying it because to them, it's a huge deal that New Japan's wrestling in New York City. Like, there's a sort of an aura about that building and about that city in New Japan. There's always been. I mean, they're going back to the 70s, and Noki sort of instilled that as well. So there is that thing too, where like we American fans are like, oh, what the fuck? Who cares? But to them, like, that's a big deal. They wanted to watch this show too, not just us.
Yeah. And the fans in the building were tremendous. They were patient through that 90 minutes, and then they were red hot for the whole show. So if you were in that crowd, tremendous job. I mean, it would have been very easy to be frustrated and have no energy and be angry. 90 minutes is a long time to be sitting there and you've got nothing. And when Rocky came out with that executive, did you see that?
I did. I missed that part. I wanted to. Was that on the? I don't know if it's even on the replay because I think I jumped right at the beginning, but I may have passed it up.
Yeah, it aired during the delay, and the executive gets in the ring and he's just trying his best in very limited English to apologize over and over and just bowing to the crowd. And I see Rocky standing there and I'm like, is this a bit? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, what are they doing? And the crowd was very polite to him, but he just kept saying over and over, I'm sorry, and like bowing to the audience, and no one knew what to make of it. And then Rocky gets in the ring and cuts the promo. I'm like, why didn't Rocky just get in the ring and cut the promo and save this? Why did they send this guy out there to die? We find out later that's kind of like Japanese tradition. If something goes wrong, the guy in charge takes the fucking heat.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what that was. It wasn't a bit. I swear to God, I thought it was a bit. And because I didn't understand. I don't know the culture. And, Rocky gets in, he cuts the promo. And as soon as he said, we're going to try to put highlights of Boston on the screen for you, I'm like, oh my God, this show's never going to start.
Right. Here's a video.
Yeah, like, this is the worst, and I don't even think they ever got those highlights up. They were going to show matches from the night before. But yeah, so that was a controversy that came and went pretty quickly. And I don't think those fans, based on how hot they were, really are holding it against them. I don't think it's going to hurt them if they come back. But, a packed Hammerstein building, they kind of, did they paint that building?
Yeah, I don't know if I like the new paint job on that building. It kind of looks like a mall concourse now, and I don't know. It's all white and gray, and I kind of like the wood. I like the wood paneling everywhere and stuff. It had a classic look, but yeah, it looked a lot different. It definitely did. I saw some pictures, and I was like, "That's Hammerstein? Like, what the fuck?" It was interesting. Yeah, they definitely got a new paint job and a little more cleaned up. But I don't know. I don't know if I love it.
I don't know either. I wonder if they did that to the smaller room too, the grand ballroom. I wonder if they painted all that over too. I don't know. Like structurally, it's clearly the same building, but the paint makes it look a lot different. Like it's just a total different visual. But anyway, that's what's going on with the Fighting Spirit Unleashed show. Oh, we should drop this one because I don't think anyone has really talked about it, and I did a little digging myself on this one. But it looks like Minoru Suzuki is not long for New Japan. I was sent a tip. I don't even know if you're aware. I don't even know if I told you any of this, but you saw me digging around.
I saw you digging around. I did not get I don't know about the initial tip, but I'm interested now. So
yeah, so I got a tip that Minoru Suzuki, the word on the street in Japan, my sources in Japan, Rich, have told me that Minoru Suzuki has been wanting out of New Japan, and would be gone, in a matter of months. And then I did some more sniffing around, and it got confirmed by a second source who basically said, yeah, if not for the Jushin Liger program, he'd be gone already. So that was like, whoa. Well, I know you saw that bit.
That made me stop in my tracks for sure. I was like, okay.
So, the word on the street in Japan is that, there's a lot of rumblings in Japan that which would explain, he wasn't in the G1, whether that was by his choice because he's getting older, or whether the company knows that he isn't long. So why put him in the G1 if he's not going to be around much longer? Right. And they gave him that title match against Okada, so maybe get one more house out of him, right? And then do this program with Liger, which Suzuki seems to be very much into, and they will wrestle at King of Pro Wrestling. So it'll be interesting to see if King of Pro Wrestling is a Minoru Suzuki blowoff. It's very much good. I'm not saying – I don't know. Let me be clear before people run the Reddit on their little keyboards, okay? Let me be clear. I don't know when or even if the guy's leaving. All I'm saying is double sourced that he's planning on leaving New Japan and they're aware of it. And he's not happy there. And the direct quote we got was, if it wasn't for the Liger program, he'd be gone already. Am I misrepresenting that? I'm not,
no,
right?
That's it. Yeah, that's it. So, and nothing about him being injured as well either. It is another thing too, in terms of like his body or whatnot. We've heard most of it was just like, he's older, but it's morale more than anything, I should say. It's not like he's retiring, tomorrow. He's retiring immediately after King of Pro Wrestling. That, he's never going to wrestle again. Like, the idea is that we've heard was, not happy.
No, he just doesn't want to be. And my original source tells me that Noah is the potential destination. So how about that? Interesting.
Really is. And you want a little bit more smoke to that fire too. And I know you saw this, and I'm glad. It fucking sounds great to me. December 13th for Warrior Wrestling. We've talked about Warrior Wrestling on the show many times before in Chicago. Minoru Suzuki signed to compete December 13th. Yeah. So he's not in World Tag League. We know that. So Yeah,
he's taking indie bookings.
Yeah.
That's not there's others coming.
There's some smoke there. I mean, that's a dude who's already telling you he's not in the World Tag League. That after King of Pro Wrestling, he's not, he's taking other bookings outside of New Japan. So again, we're not saying he's leaving, but we're not saying he's leaving. It's
leaning that way for sure. And that's the other thing, as we've talked about before. A lot of those Suzuki Gun guys are not under New Japan contract. Okay, a lot of them are not under contract. Now, I heard a rumor as to part of the reason he's upset, which I'm not ready to talk about on the air. I might in a couple weeks. I don't want to put rumors out there. You understand? I don't even know if you know this one. I'll tell you off the air. But I may have mentioned it to someone we talked to in Twitter DMs. The confrontation he had with another wrestler. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
I don't. I actually don't. So I'm interested now. Let's go.
Yeah, and again, listen. I don't want to talk about it because that's the kind of thing you don't want to report unless it's got to be more than a rumor for me to talk about that. But the point here is he's taking indie bookings, and I lost my train of thought on what I was talking about. But the Suzuki Gun guys, a lot of those guys aren't even under New Japan contract, which includes Archer that we talked about before. So it's like if Suzuki leaves and they disband Suzuki Gun or whatever, a lot of those guys, what do you do with them? Do you move them to other units? Do you keep them around? Do you get them under contract? Which again, if I'm Lance Archer, I am leveraging this. I'm talking to other promotions if I'm not under contract. And I have no idea whether he's under contract or not. I know years ago he wasn't. I don't know about now. But if I'm not, I am absolutely talking to other wrestling promotions and using that leverage now that he's super hot against it, especially with all the uncertainty now with Suzuki and what happens with the rest of those guys. About 2 years ago, I could tell you for a fact, the only Suzuki Gun guy that was under contract of all people was fucking Kanemaru somehow. The guy who just weasels his way. I mean, that guy is just the ultimate fucking grifter. I mean, you got to respect that guy's hustle. But now I don't know. It's that was 2 years ago, so it doesn't mean anything. But if Suzuki leaves, there could be some dominoes there in terms of that unit falling apart. And what happens with that? Does someone else do they keep it together and call it something else and put Taichi in charge or something? I mean, as the number one, who knows? But that was an interesting story. So do you want to just go over the king of should also mention this, that not just Suzuki, but there's some turmoil I don't know if it's turmoil, but there may be some changes in the New Japan front office.
Yes.
Shortly, too, come the turn of the year. That's the other thing, in that months ago, we heard that Harold May might be out after the Dome shows, right? Never said a word about it, but now I've heard it from two other people. Mm-hmm. And if you listen to Super J-Cast, obviously Michael Craven is on edge, as he had that confrontation, that first-hand account with the producer of Super J-Cast at which show was that? That was the UK show, right?
I believe, yeah, the Royal Quest show. The
Royal Quest show, where Craven got into that verbal altercation with the Super J-Cast producer.
Yeah, Editor Dan
saying that he's, you're putting my job at risk and all this. Go listen to the show from a couple weeks ago. Right. I don't want to so he's on edge, Craven. And now we're hearing from multiple, again, Rich, we held this under wraps for how long? The May thing.
Yeah, God, that was, 2 months ago, month and a half ago or so that we saw that, for sure.
Because this is just one of those things. And listen, this is one of those things where you talk to people and you hear a rumor, and it's irresponsible to come on this show and just start spitting that shit out, right?
We always say we want to hear it from two people or two or three people that we know don't talk to the same people and wouldn't talk to each other.
Yeah, and it's not like the person who told us is really reliable. But again, I'm not just going to come on here and talk about unsubstantiated rumors when we're just shooting the shit with someone that we're friends with. You know what I mean? And it's like, but now when I hear it again this week, I was like, wait a minute. I think I remember someone else telling me that, and I went back and looked, and I was like, yep, there it is. So again, is there smoke to that fire? And I don't think, and I don't know the reasons, but the way it was phrased is, look, whether the Dome shows are a success or not, Harold May could be on the way out come the turn of the year. And then I'm thinking about Craven getting into it with producer Dan, who's just asking, I think he just asked for a light for his cigarette, and the poor guy fucking got jumped on by Craven. But go listen to that show. You get the full story. It's fascinating. I got a phone call that day from the Super J-Cast guys while the show was going on. They're like, Joe, you wouldn't believe what's going on in London. I'm like, I'd love to know. Tell me. And they're like, how do we handle this? And I was like, you go on the air and talk about it. I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, he confronted, your producer, and, it's like, you're under no obligation not to talk about
fuck
that.
Him. Yeah, talk. Who cares? Yeah.
And when things settled down, they had an off-the-record conversation, and producer Dan left all of that out of the show like he should have. Because if the guy says, hey, look, let me talk to you off the record, okay, no problem with that. And he didn't go on air and fucking, stab the guy in the back and talk about that portion of it. But he was well within his rights to discuss the confrontation that they had. I mean, and I thought Dan handled it beautifully. And I thought the Super J-Cast guys handled it beautifully, and I had Damon, calling me during the show. What do I do here? He's like, you're the boss. I'm like, yeah, about time someone called me instead of Rich, right? Yeah, about time. I was feeling good about myself.
It's like, yeah, that's the perfect time. Like little website stuff I deal with, but like, hey, we're getting threatened by a New Japan executive. What do we do?
Yeah,
that's you called the right guy in terms of like, calming a situation down. Like I am not. I don't know if I'm the guy that you have a little bit more experience in creating and then calming situations down. So,
listen, I handled it with aplomb. Okay, yeah. I crushed it. Okay, we handled it right. So anyway, possible turmoil in the front office too. I can't wait to see fucking Reddit tomorrow. This is going to be
this is going to be great.
But should we talk about when's King of Pro Wrestling? You want to hold it off?
I think we'll have till next week. That's October 14th. So we have until next Monday. So or the Monday after, I should say. We got plenty of time to cover that one. So that's good. As long as they get the URL right and the website name right, knock yourself out, Reddit. So hi. Hello. Hi.
Couple quick hitters. You want to bury Ring of Honor next?
Well, let's fucking do it. Yeah. Dear God.
Quick hitters. We're running out of time. Let's run through.
I got about a half hour. So let's go quick.
But so Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor, not good, Rich.
Well, death is the correct word there. I would say, yeah. This so this week's Wrestling Observer, they had a their their poll that they put on the top of the Observer, they had like 50 people tops jumping in to kind of give a thoughts about the show, which did not bode well. And then Dave also put here, as is the fact that in a 900-seat arena in Las Vegas, Sam's Town, not only did they have a week advance, we talked about that last week, where you could buy the entire second, third, and fourth row 2 days before the show, not good, but even with giving away tickets at the end to basically anyone who wanted them, they started the show with maybe 600 in the building and ended with about 800. Not good, but worse. Joe, are you ready for this? Dear God.
Yeah, that
worse.
Listen.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
We know their attendance is bad, but the next part is just stunning. It's just atrocious. Go ahead.
So worse are the pay-per-view numbers. The last ROH show, Best in the World, on 6/28 in Baltimore, did an estimated 3,500 pay-per-view buys. Death Before Dishonor at press time is estimated at just under 800. The actual decline from the last show is 77.7%, and this is not a year-to-year drop, but a drop from June to September. 800. Joe, how many more people will listen to this show than order Death Before Dishonor? That is not good.
By many, many multiples.
Again, similar to our Impact dunking, where we're doing, hey, ROH, in your worst, we're killing you guys, but no, we're beating them by a lot, and that's not good for a company. I mean, at the state that they're at,
our paying customers are catching up. So I mean, yeah, it's
800, 800,
a 78% drop from the previous pay-per-view,
which was I'm sure already down too. I mean, he's saying that it's not even a year. June wasn't really the hottest point in Ring of Honor history either. But the fact that this is how far they've fallen at this point.
When at 3,500 buys, wasn't it for that one?
Yeah.
Is that 78%? Is that math right?
I don't know. It's Dave, so probably not. So
it is. I think about it.
Okay.
I'm not that bad at math. Yeah, that's about right. 77.7, right?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it is right around there. So
I did that in my head. How about that?
That's pretty good. That's good. I couldn't do that at all. I don't know. I didn't do any math in my head. So
I surprised myself with that. I was like, well, what? But yeah. So wait, is that right? Now I'm doubting myself.
Who knows?
Punch it up.
Jeez.
No, I need to know.
Oh, God.
Hold on, I got a calculator. Hold on.
Yeah. Let's see old Lanza use the calculator.
Down myself here. So what was it? 800.
Yeah, 800, 3,500.
Oh, you know the problem? I'm going to tell you the problem. I don't know how to do that math on a calculator. But
It's a terrible segment.
So forget it. I can't even check
a lot of it. I have a calculator here that says one value is this, the next value is this. Calculate. No, it says something different too. I don't know. Yes, it's a huge drop.
You ripped me. You ripped me, and you don't know how to do it either. Right? So anyway, it's a 78% drop for pay-per-view over the last show, which is horrendous. Look, here's my take on all this. I have a couple different takes on this. Number one, Roosh isn't going to save their ass because it's over. You cannot come back from this. People just don't care about Ring of Honor anymore. The fact is, Roosh headlined this show, and it made zero difference. And in fact, they plummeted 78% from last time and couldn't draw any fans.
Right.
So Roosh is not the savior.
No, absolutely. And one thing that we should know too, because people will bring up, oh, Roosh is a big deal in here, and he's a big deal here, and he's a big deal here. It's not universal. If people don't care about a company, or they know that the company doesn't use a guy properly, or they don't find any interest in that guy, it's not just because you have Roosh on your show doesn't mean you're automatically going to do well. People have clearly said, hey, Roosh is important to us. We like Roosh, but we think Ring of Honor sucks, so we're not going to watch it.
We don't want to see Roosh in Ring of Honor.
Right, but Roosh will go to fucking MLW right around the corner from me and sell that building out. And he'll be the most over guy in the entire building. So it's not universal. People forget that sometimes about pro wrestling. Just inserting a guy that's over in one place into your place doesn't immediately make your place good. It doesn't immediately make all those people that were watching this guy in this one place all of a sudden now come over to watch your thing. That's just not how it works. It's about what you do with that person, everything around you, the narrative around your company, the momentum of your company, all that stuff matters. MLW can pop big houses with Roosh. CML can do stuff. Well, used to be able to do stuff with Roosh. I guess we'll get to that in a bit. Like, he has, obviously business traction in a lot of other places. He doesn't in Ring of Honor. And like you're saying, it's not all of a sudden going to be, well, hey, a lot of people have Roosh, so we'll just keep pushing Roosh. Like, no, like we've seen here, I don't think it's going to work that well. I don't think it's going to work that way either. So, it is. I mean, that is staggering. At this point, it's like, what are you guys even doing?
You can't. This isn't going to turn it around. Point number two, At this point, Matt Taven has to be considered one of the worst world champions of all time in terms of during that person's title reign, a company cratering to just unforeseen depths. I mean, it's just bad. And of course, there are factors that have nothing to do with Matt Taven. The Elite leaving, no Kenny Omega coming in every now and then, less New Japan presence. Look, all of those things are factors. I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying it's all on Matt Taven. I'm not saying that this, wouldn't have happened if someone else. I'm not saying any of those things, but the facts are facts. Matt Taven didn't stop the bleeding at all, and I think it's clearly and blatantly obvious that he was part of the problem because nobody gives a fuck about Matt Taven.
Yeah, it has to go down as historically one of the absolute worst title reigns of all time. We've seen business drops in with certain title reigns. We've seen your Diesel and your Ultimate Warriors and stuff. This is like unprecedented. And like you said, it's not only Matt Taven, but my God, when you look at from when he wins the title to now when he loses the title here in September, I mean, unprecedented drop in business across the board.
Not only is it not only Matt Taven, I don't even think it's mostly Matt Taven, but
he didn't help. I mean, that's the when you're the champion
at all, and I think he contributed to. So it's just a horrible all around. Point number 3, Marty Scurll dodged a bullet, in my view. Because this was going to happen, whether Matt Taven won the title that night, whether Marty Scurll won the title that night, or whether Jay Lethal retained the title that night. I just think the degrees may have been slightly different. Maybe they wouldn't have bottomed out to the degree that they've bottomed out now under Marty Scurll, and I don't think they would have. But Ring of Honor still would have seen unsightly business declines without the Elite and without Cody and without Kenny Omega and without the New Japan presence with Scurll that they would have seen under Taven, in my opinion, and I think he dodged a bullet. Maybe they're not down to 800 pay-per-view buys. Maybe they're down to 1,200. Maybe they're not down to, doing 60% less business. And maybe some of these cities, they're not, instead of being down 60%, they're down 40 or 30%. But I still think that this was coming, whether Marty Scurll or Matt Taven was champion or not. I just think it's a little bit worse under Taven. So
for sure, yeah, I'm starting the conspiracy theory now that Marty Scurll said they said, "Hey, you're going to win the title." He went, "You know what? Nah, I don't even need the title. What? The title? No, I don't need the title. No, you have Taven win it because he is. Yeah, Marty can just kind of whatever he's going to do in November, he can skirt away and go, "Hey, not my fault.
Exactly,
not my problem. Bye."
He not only dodged the bullet of being the guy who, because what would he'd have so much less leverage coming out of this if he was the guy who was champion during his drop. Everyone would say, "Oh, well, he's not the star that we thought he was." He dodged a bullet, and he comes out of this kind of looking like the martyr. Oh, well, God, what does everybody say? Oh, you should have put it on Marty Scurll. He would have been your savior. And he wouldn't have been. But here's the thing. So what do you do when you have a world champion that sees business drops that are approaching 80%? Of course, you re-sign him to a deal where he's making 3 times as much money as he was before. Right?
Yes, of course. You get yourself into a bidding war for Matt Taven.
Yeah.
Just shut this shit down. This company's done. Sell this fucking tape library so I can go watch some classic Ring of Honor. I'm done with you guys. Get off my fucking... Go away.
So after 6 months of this...
We want more of this at triple the rate that we got it at.
Someone looked at this scenario and said, we got to have this guy back.
Get out of here. Go away.
And we have to pay him 3 times as much as he was making before. Here's what we need to do.
Sell that fucking tape library. Let's get this over with.
I mean, what are they doing? I mean, who does? This would be like, Rich, I know you're not on top of the NFL like you used to be, okay? But this would be like the Minnesota Vikings signing Kirk Cousins to an extension today.
Right.
That's what
I do get that because he's pretty bad.
Yeah, I know you're not that far removed. Like, you know what's going on in sports, right? And now he's a massive bust with the deal they gave him. And, it's like, how do you re-sign this guy to – look, if they would have re-signed him to the same deal, I get it. All right, you want to keep the guy around. You're not going to blame everything on him. He's a good soldier, good guy in the locker room. nice guy. He does have his fans, the Madison Square Taven group, but to give him an enormous raise and to put yourself in a bidding war for this man where everybody else just says, all right, he's all yours. He's all yours, guys. You win. It's just mind-blowing. So at this point, I think there is no saving Ring of Honor. I think they are – look, I made the comparison like a year ago. They are the AWA they are the ESPN era AWA. It only gets worse from here. It doesn't matter what they do. People have given up on the company, and Jeff Cobb, not Roosh, not Jeff Cobb, not Bandito, I don't care who it is, not Matt Taven, not Marty Scurll, if he resigns. Okay, and if they offer him 3 times the money, I'd probably re-sign it too. None of them are saving this company now because people have just washed their hands of it, and there's just no interest in those letters. So outside of bringing in a huge outside star, it's only this could be and looks like the beginning of the end.
Oh boy, yeah. So a few more things to get to, Joe. Before we do that, though, do you want to let people know about MyBookie? Another sponsor for this great episode of the Voice Wrestling Flagship Podcast.
Rich, it's the end of a hard week. I've worked hard. There's nothing I want to do than sit down, kick my feet up, and watch a little football.
Little Kirk Cousins, right? Little Kirk Cousins action there. It was a good segue there with the Kirk Cousins. So there you go. You don't want to watch that. You don't want to sit down and watch Kirk Cousins, though. That is not ideal.
Little Kirk Cousins, a little Mitch Trubisky,
a little Cam Newton, the top stars of the NFL. These great quarterbacks all across this league. Colt McCoy.
Nothing I like better than watching, all of these quarterbacks shit the bed right. On a weekly basis on a Sunday. Case Keenum, there's another one, okay? But the NFL is exciting. And what makes the NFL even more exciting is betting against Kirk Cousins and Cam Newton and Case Keenum and Mitch Trubisky. Although I guess we can't do that for a few weeks, right?
You got to go Chase Daniel.
Takes over. So listen, what do? I do the smart thing. I go to mybookie.ag. No one gives you more ways to win than they do. MyBookie's got the fastest payouts and better lines than any other sports book. And don't forget, where you're betting is just as important as who you're betting on. And mybookie.ag is the best in the business. It's where Joe Lanza plays, and it's where you should too. I would not be telling you about mybookie.ag if they weren't the best. So do the smart thing if you're going to bet this football season, if you're going to bet this weekend, if you're going to bet against Kirk Cousins, bet with mybookie.ag. If you're the kind of guy who likes to bet a little to win a lot, you can bet parlays. If you bet on Kirk Cousins for some reason and you're getting your ass kicked, they have in-game betting so you can correct your mistakes. Join now. MyBookie.ag will double your first deposit. All you have to do is use the promo code VOICES to activate the offer. That's promo code VOICES, VOICES. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid.
Good stuff there. Okay, a few more things to get to here before we say goodbye today. We have NWA on YouTube. So the official word coming down, the NWA TV show will air on youtube.com/NWA, the official NWA YouTube channel. It will also air on Facebook as well, the NWA's Facebook page. This will air every Tuesday night on demand at 6:05 Eastern time. So a nice little nod there with the 6:05. And you'll be able to watch replays as well. After that as well. So you're getting NWA on YouTube and Facebook, no actual TV networks or anything like that, but I think a pretty good distribution platform. I mean, a little disappointing probably for NWA to not find, a TV partner in that sense, but I think YouTube and Facebook's a great outlet for them too. I'd rather, if the option is, hey, we can get our TV, deal on some shitbag network that nobody gets or whatever, or we can put it on our own YouTube channel, which is already established or whatever, I'd probably choose the YouTube channel. Obviously then now all the revenue and all that is going to have to be generated by NWA and generated by YouTube and by Facebook and all that sort of stuff, which will be an uphill battle. But regardless, pretty cool. And we got another TV show now starting, next Tuesday, right?
Is this Tuesday coming up?
I believe that's the case, yeah.
So wait, this is on YouTube and Facebook? I didn't know
YouTube
that.
and Facebook, yeah. So youtube.com/NBA, and then Facebook has their little live platform as well. So you can do premieres and watch parties and all that sort of stuff. So you can do that.
So
yeah, simulcast.
So this is simulcast on both at the same time live.
Correct, yeah. And then the replays will be available all the time as well. Once the show's over, you can go to YouTube and watch the replay. You go to Facebook, watch the replay, wherever you want to go. So, and also, I think Fight is going to get it on Saturdays, I want to say. There's something on...
Oh, they're going to be on Fight, too.
Yes, correct.
I mean, look, in the current landscape, when you're like 8th in the pecking order, this isn't that bad, all things considered. I didn't realize they had all these different... I thought it was strictly going to be a YouTube thing. And I know they're going to have a pay-per-view at some point, and that's going to be on a Saturday. So, yes, so it's going to be on Tuesdays. We talked to multiple people who were at the tapings, and then I know Jim Cornette on his podcast talked. This is why I listened to Cornette's show before we went on, because he, of course, is doing the commentary, and he talked a lot about the tapings and seemed very positive. And it's Cornette. You know, look, he's an employee. I get it. But he's a pretty honest guy. So he was pretty positive about the experience and how everything went. So everything went smooth. He loved the look of the studio, which I know you did too.
Oh God, I fucking love it. Yeah, I tweeted it out, and if you haven't seen it, just look up NWA Studio. It is blue. It is 1984 melted down into the perfect thing ever. It's a studio. You got one row of bleachers. It fucking looks great. No mats on the ground. Everything's kind of shined up and looking real good. Yeah, I love that set. You can have your fucking LED boards and all that shit. I'll take this any day.
1 hour shows. Studio style wrestling. So you're getting fucking rich. You're getting 6-minute matches. You're getting promos. You're getting no music. They come out of the curtain, they get announced, and they walk up the steps and go into the ring. Yep. Okay.
They cut the promo walking out of the ring. The TV announcer guy walks up and interviews them with the ring behind them. I love it.
Think the TBS 605 show. That's the structure here. Okay. The one from, the mid 80s. You get interviewed at the podium. You cut your promos. I think they taped 8 1-hour episodes. I am excited for this because it's going to be so different. And, I think it's like if the NWA tries to be like AEW and WWE, they're going to look second rate. So why not stay in your lane and try to do something different and have a different kind of appeal? And I think that's important. And, I'm excited about this. We talked to some people who were at the tapings. Nothing but positive feedback from everyone. So the tapings were said to have gone very well, very smooth. Billy Corgan is very hands-on, okay, and not in an overwhelming way, but very hands-on with everything. And, so the tapings went well. Cornette said Rock and Roll Express got super over, and he couldn't say a lot because obviously you don't want to give everything away that's going to air, but he said there were some other acts that got over, and he was very impressed with a lot of the wrestlers who may not be household names who took part at the tapings. So definitely looking forward to it. And, even the stuff we were told privately, I mean, it was all positive, right, Rich? I mean, we didn't hear anything negative.
Yeah, it seemed like everybody, that was there, one thing that we heard from a lot of people, they put over how organized and professional everything was, which is an important thing for a brand new company doing brand new TV and all that sort of stuff. With a lot of moving parts, we heard everything was smooth there. We heard that everybody, it seemed like not a bad word that comes out of it, and that's pretty rare in wrestling. Like usually, someone has something bad to say about someone, but everything seemed pretty glowing for the most part.
Yeah, nobody was griping or trying to feed us shit to bury other people or anything. It seems like it all went smooth and was shockingly organized and so I'm excited about it. I can't wait. And I'm going to try to do something with it behind the paywall in terms of reviews as I restructure all the TV reviews or whatnot, because I think it's something different that is going to deserve coverage, coming out of the gate, and then we'll go from there. And we already mentioned, uncharted territory, doing record numbers for independent wrestling TV. And just like last season, we've got a review. Might as well plug that now. We've got a review of the episode 1 of this season up on the site now. What's his fucking
Andy Labar?
Right?
Andy Labar.
That's what he goes by.
Yep.
So Andy Labar, he reviewed last year's season 1, and he loved this episode. I haven't watched it yet. I know Brandon Thurston wrestled Jay Freddy again.
Yeah, so I gotta watch that. Can't not support our man Brandon. Come on.
Yeah, so I'll eventually get to that. Like I'll eventually get to the other giant fucking pile of shit that I haven't watched yet. But Big Titan is dead, Rich.
Yes, yeah. Rick Bogner unfortunately passed away earlier this week. Apparently he had passed away on 9/20, and nobody really unfortunately knew about it right away. We did find out last week that they did pass away at the age of 49. Obviously, not ideal, dying at 49. So we heard it was not kind of out of nowhere in a lot of ways. He had some on and off problems here, but yeah, nobody expected him to pass away the way he did. But any Rick Bogner, Big Titan, fake Razor Ramon thoughts or things to look at. After he died, I went back and watched some of the old fake Razor stuff and was able to watch some Big Titan stuff. But what do you think overall of Bogner's career before we kind of dig into the Titan, fake Razor Ramon stuff?
This was a guy where it's like, it's just a shame that the fake Razor stuff is what people are going to predominantly remember him for. Right. This was a guy that when my peak tape trading and when I was really into FMW, he was obviously, part of the big three. It was Big Titan, the Gladiator, which was Mike Awesome, and Hayabusa, which in those days for me and my circle of wrestling nerd friends who were trading tapes, were, the tapes that you would check that mailbox every day to see because you were really excited to see those guys, and there was just, I would recommend going back and checking that stuff, especially if your only exposure is the failed fake Razor gimmick, which, again, it's unfortunate. He got his opportunity, and so did Glenn Jacobs, and it worked out for one guy, and it just didn't work out for the other. I mean, that's just, how it goes, and, he had brief appearances in ECW, eventually on November to Remember. I assume I'll get to those when we get to 1990. What do I want to say? 5 or 6? Probably. Yeah,
I think it was 6. Yeah, I think it was either late 96 or maybe even early 97 that he popped up there. So.
Yeah, probably somewhere around 96 for that. But yeah, his peak work was without question FMW and the matches with Gladiator, the tag team with Mike Awesome and really a guy a big guy who worked like a big guy, but also did shit that big guys weren't doing in that day and age.
Yeah, I was going back and watching some old matches, and I saw one. I think it was in War, and he was against, I want to say it was Tenryu and Koji Katawa, I believe, and he does like a fucking flying body press. I'm like, holy shit! And the crowd, you can hear the crowd too, because they're like, that dude's big, and he just did a body press over the top rope. That's huge. So yeah, it was a guy that definitely worked a little faster, a little bit bigger than or a little bit, a little quicker, a little more high flying than you would imagine for a guy of that size in that era, especially.
Well, War, I mean, that was after, that was a little later, and he was, I think he was aligned with Jericho and Gato and Jado and now I haven't seen a ton of that, so that I can't really speak on. I'm more familiar with the FMW stuff. With him, and then obviously the American stuff he did that didn't work out, and then he kind of just disappeared from the scene shortly after the fake Razor. Well, I guess he did New Japan for a little while, but that didn't really go.
Yeah, it was in a G1. You could find, if you look up Big Titan Wrestling or whatever, you'll get a New Japan G1 match he has with, I forget who it was. I watched it a few days ago, but that
was a single elimination G1.
Yeah, exactly, and it wasn't very good, so it didn't.
Yeah, he was well past his peak at that point, but so I wonder if he has any New Japan World stuff. He probably has.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check on that real quickly, but I'm sure he might have something on there. But yeah, and unfortunately, I don't want to get into too much of the fake Razor thing because it's not obviously this show or what people really care about. But just a really bizarre, odd thing that nobody quite understands. And it's like, I went back and I watched some of the stuff, including like Jim Ross introducing him, and they have Jim Ross doing this like weird like work shoot thing where he's like, yeah, this company's bullshit and Vince McMahon's terrible. And I'm like, who cares? Like, who would watch this? Like, who would care about this? Why is this even being presented on the channel? And then, apparently according to everybody, like Vince McMahon just one day woke up and was like, hey, I own the copyrights to Razor Ramon and Diesel. Let's have Razor Ramon and Diesel come back. And what is interesting, though, watching this kind of, with 2019 eyes is they immediately tell you, like, Jim Ross is the only guy that sort of says, well, hey, it's Razor and Diesel. But, like, right off the bat, they're like, well, that's not Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. And he's like, I never said it was Scott Hall. I said it's Razor Ramon. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, why do we have this? It's just so bizarre. Yeah,
I mean, look, at the time, work shoot stuff was kind of new. Looking back, it's like we're so tired of that stuff.
I guess at the point where Jim Ross is calling him Mr. McMahon and Vince McMahon fired my ass, and you're like, oh, I guess, but who's it for though? Like, who's benefiting from that? Who's going to watch?
It was okay. I'm defending one of the worst angles of all time. don't get me wrong. I'm not like defending it, but they were trying to get people to call 900 lines, and there was a lot of unrest in wrestling, guys making jumps, obviously.
Right.
And they were trying to make money off of the idea that Diesel and Razor Ramon were really coming back. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, yeah, and then
until WCW said, you're false promoting that. Kevin Nash and Razor Ramon are walking through that door. So yeah, that.
So there was, and even though they own those copyright, it's a whole thing. And then the idea was that it was going to get mega heat, and Jim Ross would be like a heel manager, and these guys would be. But people just reacted to it the way that you just reacted to it. Like, what is this shit? This sucks, and it didn't stand a chance. And they weren't the only two. You had. The second Double J, which was Jesse James, and it wasn't their only attempt at that. People forget that. But yeah, it was an absolute utter failure. And I thought Bogner was a better Razor than Jacobs was a Diesel, even though it was all horrendous.
Yeah, unfortunately, Bogner was like a good 75 pounds heavier than Razor Ramon ever was.
Yeah.
And the worst part is, too, and I think I watched an interview with him where he was like, yeah, they called me, and then they were like, you're going to be the Razor. And he's like, okay. I mean, like, you can't turn that down. That's your big opportunity. So, yeah, of course, I'll do it. And then he said that he got a call at like 8 a.m. one day that Vince McMahon said, hey, pal. He's like, hey, how's it going? He's like, can you drop about 30, 40 pounds before you get to TV? And he's like, TV's in like a week and a half. And he's like, yeah, I know, pal. It's going to be tough, but I'm sure you can do it. It's like... So, like, Bogner had to get down as much as he possibly could, which is like, that dude was walking around at, like, I don't know, he was a big dude. Like, I'm sure he was around 250, something like that. And then he had to get down to, like, goddamn, 210, 220 to even look remotely like Razor. And he comes out and he's wearing the Razor gear, but he doesn't look anything like Razor Ramon because he's fucking 45 pounds heavier than Razor. So
no, he looked like Razor Ramon if he was fat.
Yeah, right. Like,
he kind of looked like him. Like, it wasn't all... Like, Jacobs looked nothing like Diesel. Like, to me. Anyway, I don't know. Look, it was all awful.
It was terrible. Yeah, it was so bad, and it lasted like 2 months, 3 months basically, and then it was gone and dead and never to return.
Well, they sent them to Memphis. I think they sent them to Memphis, and then they did it there, and then I think they dropped it. But I don't. Look, after that, he just bounced around for a little bit and got out of wrestling. He was only 49.
Yeah.
So it's not like. He's just a guy who disappeared in his 30s and never came back, other than some small indie shots that I wasn't even aware of. But definitely a guy where it's like that day everyone's talking about fake Razor, and I was like, no, come on, man, go
dig a little deeper. Do a little work here.
Look up Big Titan. We should be talking about Big Titan today, because that was a guy who a lot of people thought could really break. And Mike Awesome was the one who ultimately was the one who really did make it in America. And it's like twice in Bogner's career the other guy was the one to make it, and sometimes those are just the breaks.
I know he really should have done power bombs. Apparently, like, partners that do power bombs was not a good pick for him. So yeah, he should have found a way around that. But yeah, no, I was able to watch. Yeah, there's not a ton out there of Big Titan stuff to watch, but you can dig around and find some stuff if you want. There's some like hand cam ones that were out there that were pretty cool. But I looked on New Japan World. It does not look like any of them are on New Japan World, unfortunately. So I could be doing a bad search or whatever. Their search isn't quite the best, so it's a possibility that it's there somewhere. But yeah, I wasn't able to find it, unfortunately. But that's that. We wanted to at least touch on him a little bit here in this crazy wrestling weekend. And then, Joe, finally, last but not least, do you want to get to this Noah Sumo Hall lineup? Because this lineup fucking rocks. We're not going to have a ton of time to kind of dig into it, but we'll do that in coming weeks, at least, hopefully, because it's not until Noah the Best is, what date is that show? I want to say it is November 2nd. So we got plenty of time to kind of preview it. But yeah, real quickly, if you want to go over the card, or at least the big stuff of the card.
Yeah, I mean, we can push. I could just go over quickly. Kano won the N1. So it'll be Kano and Kaito Kiyomiya, which is a pretty brave main event for Sumo Hall, considering they just did that match in January. But Kiyomiya's gone through pretty much everyone. So, I thought they'd go to Segura again, but they're not doing that. Instead, Takashi Segura's facing Big Mike Elgin as they're rolling out a new title, Rich, the GHC National Championship. Very quickly, what do you think about them rolling out another singles title?
If I'm Noah, I don't know if I really necessarily need another singles title. I don't know if that's really the greatest idea ever. I mean, I guess in one way, it again kind of speaks to what we've been talking about a lot. Is it potentially that they think Kiyomiya is such a fucking dud? They're trying to get another drawing champion out there. I don't know. They don't want him to lose, but maybe they want Segura to have like the secondary title so they could main event the matches with Segura as a champion. I don't know. It's very bizarre. If I'm Noah, I'm definitely not rolling out a second title right now. So
I don't think they see Kiyomiya as a dud, but they definitely have to recognize that he hasn't moved the needle at all. But they're not losing fans either. He's kind of just been okay. But the Sumo Hall show is going to go a long way. If this thing draws, we got to start. We've been beating the guy up. You'll have to give him some credit if this thing draws. But they have loaded it up because you're getting Marufuji versus the Great Muta. So, they weren't going to run Sumo Hall without bringing in some outsiders, and that's one example. Axes, which is Go Shiozaki and Nakajima, they defend the tag team titles, and that's a tag team that if more people were watching Noah, they'd be a legitimate contender for Tag Team of the Year. They had a great feud, earlier this year with Sugiura and Kazuma Sakamoto. But they'll defend here against. How do you like the tag team named The Tough?
I do like it. It's a good one, The Tough, and it works for these two guys too. It's definitely the name of two guys that I would call The Tough for sure. So
Masa Kitamiya and Yoshiki Inamura, who's finally getting a legitimate push here. Hayata defends the junior title against Yohei. I am so sick of Rattels.
Rattels explodes.
This is the second time. I mean, now they're going to go against each other. They split up. Yohei went heel. They got back together for the junior tag league. Now they're facing each other for the junior title. I am so sick of them. I think that they are nice little undercard workers who get pushed way too hard based on the company they're in and limited options. The Noah Juniors I just watched a ton of Noah last week. The Noah Juniors were super interesting when it was the old dudes, when Kotaro Suzuki was getting pushed and Yoshinari Ogawa with a renewed push, and Rattels just, I don't know, they just don't do it for me as a pushed act. But speaking of Kotaro Suzuki and Yoshinari Ogawa, they defend the junior tag team titles against the other, two other Rattel dudes, Daisuke Harada, who I like, and Tadasuke, who, made it to the finals of the junior league, and he should never be pushed. I mean, I don't have a problem with him on the roster, but he's not a guy that needs to be pushed. He's just not good enough. And you got Kaz Fujita, old Ironhead here, taking on Taniguchi. So, look, they're going to it's Sumo Hall.
That's fun. That's fun. I mean, even regardless of, that match is probably going to stink, that's a fun match, though.
Yeah, no problem with it. No problem with it whatsoever. And then you've got your opening tags, which we don't really need to get into because we'll talk about the show again. But, Mochizuki is working from Dragon Gate.
Yeah, Sakuraba's popping up.
Yeah, Sakuraba, exactly. Super Crazy, Chris Ridgway. Just talking about some of the outsiders. So,
I'm all in. By the way, I'm all in on the Mochizuki Minoru Tanaka Super Crazy tag team. That fucking rules.
Yeah, that's a great team. And Nasawa Rangai is on the show, and we forgot to mention this during the Minoru Suzuki bit, but that's kind of the connection people are making with Suzuki and Noah because he's tight with Nosawa Rangai, who's booking the company. So, the booker bringing his pal, he would certainly add something.
Oh my God, it'd be night and day if you had Minoru Suzuki to this roster.
Well, Rich, remember this: who did Kaito Kiyomiya have that feud with when he was a young boy?
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Minoru Suzuki was the one. Remember when Suzuki dropped the title for the final time? They put him in that program with Kiyomiya before Kiyomiya went on excursion. And he beat the living shit out of him like a million times. That's a nice little call. If they bring Suzuki back, perfect title program with a nice little callback. So there's that to remember too. But remember, different booker. Maybe some different ideas. So maybe they don't go back. Who knows? But why would you bring in Minoru Suzuki if you're not going to push him to the top?
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, of course.
So anyway, a little bit on the Noah Sumo Hall. We'll talk more about that as time moves on.
Absolutely. All right. We are out of time here on the Voice of Wrestling Flagship Podcast. Do want to thank our sponsors, ZipRecruiter, ZipRecruiter.com/VOW there. And then, of course, MyBookie.ag. MyBookie.ag. Use promo code VOICES. That will get you double your first deposit. MyBookie.ag. Use promo code VOICES. Also, VoiceWrestling.com. You want to definitely check that out. We have a Discord server now. VoiceWrestling.com/Discord. If you want to go there, you can get entered into that and chat with us about a whole lot of topics. Wrestling, non-wrestling, sports, all that other good stuff. And that's about it. We are up against the clock, so going to do this real quick. For Joel Lanza, I'm Rich Critch. We'll see you next time. Voice Wrestling Podcast. Take care.